Woo woo. That's how you know it's live up in this joint.
Extravagant, that's it.
Defending the tree like some true hippies.
We're in this together. Remember that.
And I spelled tree T-R-U.
Pay the price.
Cause I'm gangsta. Yeah.
True.
Cause I'm gangsta.
Hey, Mr. Quirk, you have to see what your son did to himself.
You now have to go to a psychiatrist. Has nothing to do with the fact that you're 18 and coming to a pediatrician's office. It has everything to do with that you carved words in your arm and rubbed ink in them. Well, maybe if I didn't have to come to a pediatrician's office till I was 25. I'm like sitting around a bunch of like I'm sitting around like a bunch of 6-year-olds and they're like looking at me like I'm a pervert. Like, mommy, why is this grown man here? I'm like, shut up, kid.
This guy with a neck beard in here. This is the pediatrician's office.
Shut up, kid. You want some candy?
Oh, I thought. Oh, that is an
shit,
enemy.
I have a gun.
Oh, no.
Oh, goddamn, this
No
guy.
guns. I got a couple grenades. I'm coming.
He's underneath here.
Ben's not. Oh, we got somebody.
Fucking asshole. Got you, bitch.
Charge rifle.
Alright, I found one over there. Oh,
Yeah, there's
the other
one
one's in
over
here.
there.
Shit.
Boom! Charge rifle
I'm
says
coming.
you're a bitch. An RE45 with 8
That
bullets.
other box, bitch. Yeah.
There's a.
I hear somebody else.
Oh, that's me. I'm right here.
There should be another box. I downed somebody else.
there's.
Wait, I have 0 kills? What the fuck? I
There
definitely
was
downed
a-
somebody. Oh, they're crawling around. That's
Yeah, there
noise
was a
on here.
Bangalore.
Probably more than one squad.
Yeah, I killed one.
Open that lifeline.
Where the hell are they at?
Damn it, someone else got here first.
Somebody's around here. I can fucking hear them.
Over here.
That was,
Nice.
There we go. I don't know where the other one went, but she was a part of. I got the kill when she got killed. So that means that the other box is around here fucking somewhere.
the other one is.
There's right down here.
Where did I kill him? Down.
Oh, I'll definitely take that. Fuck this charge rifle shit.
Is there a heavy gun or
No.
something? It's a fucking sentinel. What the fuck, man?
I threw down a scout earlier.
There's a scout in that box.
Yeah, I have a light gun.
Did somebody just fly in?
Oh, that's what happened. Here, you can. Wait a minute, do I have any lot ammo? If you got any lot ammo, I'll trade you a prowler for that. I mean, I'll take the scout and give you.
I
a
don't even
prowler.
have a scout. No, I have a.
He's saying he'll take
I
the
mean,
scout
no, I mean,
and give
I don't
you
mean
a
that. I
prowler.
mean, I'll take this scout if you have lot ammo. I have no ammo.
I just found a hemlock. So that's fine. This is alright.
Okay.
3x in here. That's probably. There's 2 squads because somebody got killed. Oh, unless you shot him to death. For the first box. But no, that's the 4th box. Up
We've
here.
killed 3.
Oh.
Oh, 4th. Okay.
Somebody else, some other people are fighting up here apparently.
I'm snatching a helmet real quick, and then I'm coming up.
Oh,
I got my ultimate if we want to go to a bigger area and I can we
might as
can
well move
steal
into the
all the
circle.
loot. Well, we can steal.
All right.
6
Yeah, that'd be
things.
cool. I have nothing to fucking fight
I
with.
have some
hardly.
energy bullets and
I've got a mastiff.
I got an RE45 and some light bullets.
Heavy is what
I could trade you for that
Oh.
Mastiff.
If you got any light to spare,
Okay, yeah.
I'll just pick up that scout down there.
Check it out. Care package coming in.
So you're getting rid of the Mastiff?
I was gonna get rid of the Prowler.
That's fine. All good. No.
But listen, I'll probably get rid of the Mastiff when I find that
Okay,
hemlock.
hemlock right here.
They're making the birds angry over there. I just dropped the hemlock.
Okay, hold up. Zero went back for that.
Oh, okay.
Gun.
Well,
So he's not with us yet. For that
For
scout.
what gun?
oh fuck! I got enemies.
Alright.
God damn it! I'm trying to run. I'm
Coming back to you.
I heard him behind me down there at the thing.
Okay, you look like you're
Place.
alone.
I just heard one person, but yeah, where'd
I
that
got
gun
it right
ammo
here,
go?
right here.
Spotted one.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you.
Picking him out with a decoy.
I'm with you. With you.
Decoy escape deployed.
Fast legs.
Yeah, one up here too. Oh, no fuck.
Yeah, they see me.
Oh, fast. Maybe that's fast legs.
Nice, you deeply saved me again.
One down.
Got one. Here's the last one. If
I
you
gotta
got
heal
another
up.
one then.
Oh shit! Her shield's broke.
Shit. I should have healed all the way up.
Oh no!
Nah, it
Somebody
was
else.
that Wraith.
Oh.
Not bad. That felt like a good game. Just some minor mistakes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Good battle.
We're in this together. Remember that.
Everything is going to be great. At least that's what I keep telling myself.
I've got what you need. If you can afford it.
How do you like your North Star?
Introducing your champion.
They fight honors me.
I'm the jump master. Don't worry, I'll take care of you.
I am master of the jump, right? Follow the leader. That's me. Or don't. Whatever. As long as we win. How about this way?
E2020 on funny business. So I'll take this Havoc. And this purple John.
Why don't they put guns down here? You're supposed to have guns in this game, and I'm not finding any.
The
How about this way?
alternator there.
Mastiff. Don't mind if I do.
Attention.
G7 scouts here.
Hemlock.
Round one. Beginning ring
Light
countdown.
ammo here.
Prowler.
Next ring's far. Hope you like exercise.
If there's enough heavy around, I'll take that Hemlock and fudge people up with it. But I have a Havoc, so I can also run with that. It's not a big deal. Yeah, I'll do that. There's plenty of energy.
There's more energy up here.
Right now I got 180, and I'll take that, and that'll put me over the top. And then after this, I'll have like 80% to an ultimate. And we can go steal loot from somewhere else.
Oh, we went in the fucking ocean.
Extended light mag here. Level 1.
Oh god, I'll never find that one either. Jesus Christ.
I'm dropping like 150 energy next to that if anybody wants that.
Yeah, if I can carry it.
Oh, I got enemies. I
I'm
got
with you.
enemies down
Oh
here.
yeah, they're right below you.
I'm running.
They're right
Oh.
below you. I saw them. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Okay, I'm with you.
It's a caustic setting up in the other room.
Okay.
Right there, somebody. Back on that wall like they're running away.
Are they approaching? Oh, there's all three of them are over here in the corner. God damn, I've hurt one of them really badly and another one pretty badly. Thank you, thank
What?
you.
Oh, they're shooting through the fucking
Oh no!
window.
Oh, they're firing through the window.
Oh.
Reloading. We have 45 seconds, and the next ring.
They're pushing. Just
Shit. Throwing a health bot in here. Reload. You want to retreat to this room? I've got your back. I've got your back.
Somewhere else if we don't want to get
All right.
Reloading.
Here's a battery.
okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah. All I have is a Phoenix kit, and that'll take too long.
Grab what you need and let's go.
All right. Cool.
Where are they?
I don't know.
We're all outside the ring, and a wall of death is coming our way.
Right here, I think.
Oh no! Dude, I couldn't even see her through that window.
Oh, what? I hit her for like, I don't even know how much.
Dude, good try. Sorry, dude. She ran inside that building, and she like was looking at me at an angle through the barred window. I didn't even fucking know she was there. I didn't even think you could shoot
Yeah.
at me from there. She fucking wasted
Yeah,
me.
I caught her through in the same window. I hit her for something. She ran out. Then I hit her for 104. She was running by the window, and then I hit her for 28 or something before she rounded the corner. And I'm like, I hit her for I don't know how much. She probably was almost dead. I mean, I probably did 10 or 14 or whatever for the first shot, 104, and then 28. I think she had a white shield. So she's probably like right there. But the caustic, when I was trying to chase her around that corner, the caustic like headbutted me. And then I started fighting him. Oh, well.
Yeah, there were like three of them like swarming around you there. I mean,
I'm gonna go fast legs. I'm gonna do the fast leg stuff. Fast legs, fast legs. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when he's gonna shotgun in you? We're live now.
Introducing your champion.
I don't relish the title. I relish the kill.
I'm gonna give that up to. Well, no. Sounds like Grim's still outside, so I will jump. Alright,
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna give that up.
I'm inside.
Jump master here. My buddies and I aren't afraid of heights.
Let's do the ship.
Follow the leader. That's me. Or don't. Whatever. I mean, as long as we win. Flash up here.
Are we alone?
Get off this ship, motherfucker! No, somebody jumped off the back, but...
Is there anybody else
the
still on
rest
here?
is- I don't know, I don't hear him.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody, that's why I asked.
Me either.
It was just, I think it was a solo dude.
A couple L stars here.
Yeah, I got Havoc and some ammos for it.
First fatality. Let the games begin.
Yeah, I gotta have it too. Jump off now?
Where we,
like there?
where you want to
something, or-
jump? Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
You
Looks
guys
like
ready?
there's
Oh,
actually
well, we
some
can't
shit
reach.
right here.
Been good there.
Oh, here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, now I know where we are.
Okay.
Go bamboozle.
Oh, shit.
Got one here.
Oh, yes, please. Flatline.
Blue shirts
Shield
for
battery.
everybody.
Hell yeah.
Shield battery here.
Oh, another flatline? I will
There's a bag in here.
take that. I'm dropping 99.
Motherfucking right.
I didn't have a lot of bullets for that.
Yeah. You can have on the
Okay, I'm
engine.
dropping. There's 40 light as well.
Ammo here. Energy ammo here.
Gracias.
Oh, did one of y'all ping that battery? Or dibs it, I mean.
No, I
didn't
dibs
pick
the
it up.
battery.
It'll be in there.
Alright, I pinged the battery.
Here,
No.
here it is.
No. Yeah,
Oh, you
I
got-
pinged it.
I didn't know if...
I
yeah.
grabbed one off the ship, so I was pinging
Okay.
that for
Yeah,
somebody
this
else.
way.
Sure.
Oh, and we're in the
I'll pick
circle.
this up for you. There's another 99 there.
R99 here.
Bring this light ammo to you guys.
They're too cocky.
I got 301, thank you though.
Ooh, I got a treasure box for today. I'm gonna treasure it.
I got 40 light ammos for somebody if they want it.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I found a bunch.
the light ammos.
All right.
Arc star here.
Couple stars of arc. Blue bag.
Oh, somebody's being brought back.
Oh, someone getting brought back?
Oh, shit,
There's
shit.
that, and there's
Yeah,
more light ammo over
over,
here.
over there.
Rush 'em?
Oh. Oh. Over to the
Over
northern.
there, yeah.
Oh,
Or
over
select
here.
fire.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there's a shitload.
Syringe here.
2 syringes if anybody wants it.
Okay.
Oh, someone's already engaged in them.
Alright, do you guys want to get in on it or not yet?
Sure. Oh,
The med
I'll
kit
take
just
that
dropped.
shit.
Syringe here.
Alright, that should be good. Let's go.
Alright, you see them? So they're
Heads up. Got one
back there and they were shooting over here.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, they're in the middle there. You see them?
I don't. I'm following your lead.
I saw the ones you were initially pointing out. Yeah, me too.
We're already in the ring. Guess I'll run in circles for fun. Come on, bamboozle 'em.
Lead the way, Captain. I see that dude up there.
Someone else is over there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, they're throwing the ring to get away. Yeah.
Decoy escape deployed.
I'm on the roof. Oh, going in that building.
Check it out. Care package coming in.
Oh damn.
Oh,
Decoy.
that's my own decoy, I think.
Oh shit. Yeah, another guy right there. Yep.
Down that.
Oh, door.
I think somebody's right there. Yep.
Oh, that door.
Oh, and there's somebody right there on the other side of that building.
Enemies right here. I'm down.
Fuck, another whole squad.
Got one spotted.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, they're the folks that got me.
Shit. Yeah, crawl inside here, please.
Setting shield, you'll be alright.
Get my shield up real quick. Right here. Right
trying
there.
to
They're
find
fighting
it.
each other.
Yeah, you'll get it.
I'm not here.
Watch the windows.
There's a shield cell over there, and a. Thank you. There's dudes
just
in
got
that building, but
posed.
they're all around out here.
They're on the roof up there. Oh, shut up.
Of the next
Yeah,
building
that
over.
building went over there.
Oh, that
There's a
building.
Mirage on the roof.
Somebody's shielding up, like, not
Okay.
there.
Yeah, he's got gas traps in there. I set one off. Shit, outside behind us. Back on the roof of that building. Here she is. Damn.
Right there, that one,
around
that
us.
one. Oh, I didn't see a Loba in
Damn,
here.
there's
With all
so
those
many
Mirages,
people.
I didn't even see the Loba.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
another Loba? Because I think one Loba came outside and was running away. Damn. There were a million
Not
people
sure if that
around
other
us.
Loba actually died, did they? I don't know. Yeah, that's... Everybody wanted to get in on that fight.
Jesus.
Oh, okay, so it said I got another treasure pack, so let me see what that says. What the fuck is this? What the fuck am I supposed to know what this means? Alright, so... Have you looked at your quest
No.
thing yet? When I just got back, it just said, you just got a treasure pack. So I went to quest, and then 2 of 45 treasure pack rewards. I have, like, a bunch of things, and one of them says legendary, the first piece in quotation marks, for a wingman, but it won't let me click on it to see what it is. Let me see if a skin showed up. No, I don't have a skin. So... maybe a gun charm? I don't know. I feel like I should fucking tell you.
That might be the first piece, because you need 9 priceless relic pieces. So that might be the first piece.
Oh, maybe it's just a
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, because if you look down story progress...
But then it also says artifact pieces 0 out of 9.
Well, are you sure you're up to that? How many of 45 do you have? Oh,
2. I
okay,
just
so
got
you're
my
not up
second
to
one
that
today.
piece then. Because I think the first one is the rare crafting materials, treasure pack rewards. The next one is the 3000 CP. The third one is a rare Apex pack. The fourth one is the first piece.
Hold on, wait.
So if you look
Repeat
at
that over
treasure
again for the
pack
quest?
rewards, the first thing for the first treasure pack.
Yeah, my first one's 3,000.
Oh, my first one is 15 crafting materials.
My second one
Oh.
is Apex pack. The third one
No,
is the
Grim,
legendary thing.
you're not looking at the
I'm in
biggest
the
one
quest
to the
thing.
left. Yeah, but you're not where it shows your 3,000 in your Apex pack. Look to the left where it has a huge
Crafting
15
materials.
with it's like not the same size as the rest of your rewards.
Yeah, mine is a CP 3000 that's bigger
Oh,
than
really?
the rest of the rewards.
Oh,
So
no
I guess
shit.
everybody's
Okay.
different.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't like that because I have the same.
But
I
then
mean,
I also didn't get
my
an
first
Apex
is
pack.
crafting
If the second
3,000
one is
Apex
for the
Well,
pack.
maybe
second
because
thing.
you got your second one, you don't see so it shows you what one you're on. So since I only have one treasure pack,
Oh yeah.
maybe 0 only has 1 treasure pack. So that's why we see the crafting materials.
Yeah, I haven't.
Oh,
found
maybe
one.
this is the next
Right.
available one. Because I did get crafting
Okay.
materials. when I came in. So it does say next available in 13 hours 23 minutes. So we'll see if I get a legendary thing, a loot tick tomorrow.
Well, it's rare. It's not a
And
oh yeah, blue loot tick. Yeah.
After I get one of the treasure boxes,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they could have made that a lot clearer.
Because underneath that it says story progress.
After you get your shit, you think they'd be like, yeah, well, you think you'd like log in and be like, here's the 5 things you got, but they don't. They told me I got craft materials. That was it.
You got 5 things for it?
I would assume so, because there's 5 things in the picture.
Oh. Well, you're at 2 of 45, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you get 5 things for every treasure pack, I think. That's what I mean. Like, even though we're looking at it, it's still not very easily decipherable.
Rewards and hunt the prize treasure pack. Collect 5 packs, and your hunt can begin. Okay, so you collect 5 packs, then the hunt starts. So 5 packs will give you.
And there's 1 hunt per week.
Okay.
Or all that.
So yeah, 5 packs puts you past the first piece, and then you get the first piece to start the hunt, I guess. New hunts debut.
Yeah,
week.
I think each, or maybe you get the piece when you finish the hunt. The 9 pieces.
Maybe.
But then these rewards for the treasure packs, what the hell is actually in there? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Complete each.
I'm pretty sure you get 5 because my 5 today are different than the 5 that were on the screen yesterday. But they could be talking about the ones for tomorrow or in the picture. I don't fucking know, dude.
Each hunt for rewards.
And they don't tell you what you got
new
after you
weapon,
get it.
charm,
So,
piece,
like,
mysterious artifact, and the next chapter in the story. What is it? Goes complete the quest, solve the mystery, earn more rewards, and then the shocking truth about yourself.
so I'm assuming, to my best guess, because those 5 things, it doesn't line up for the first one is yesterday, second one's today, because I didn't get the second thing yet. So I guess 5, but I also didn't get all those 5 today, so maybe that's showing, because it does say underneath those 5, available in like 13 hours. Maybe that's tomorrow's, telling you what you get tomorrow.
See, mine underneath those things says find in Apex matches max 1 per day, because I didn't find one yet.
Oh, you know how we can figure this
Google.
out? You didn't. Neither of you got packs today yet, right?
Right.
Treasure packs. So see what your 5 things are, and if you find one, if it changes, see if you got the stuff it says you'll get, and then see if it changes till tomorrow.
Okay, so my 5 things are 15 crafting materials, 3,000 CP, a blue Apex pack, a little first piece, and then another 3,000 CP are my first 5.
So it doesn't tell you about the CP and shit, so you'll probably notice the crafting materials and a new Apex pack, so that's what we'll look for. You should find one. They seem, the first day I found like...
Yeah, found a bunch yesterday.
3 or 4 of them pretty quick, like right off the bat.
So yeah, I didn't notice if I got those 15 crafting materials. I have no idea.
Yeah, so we'll see if you get it after this one, I guess, and then we'll know.
But I also don't know. I mean, I'm gonna get experience and CP and shit. So I don't know what I
Yeah,
I don't
so
know
how
if
you
I'm,
gonna tell if you
what
get
I'm
it?
at now.
Exactly.
I don't know what I should be at. So yeah, I don't know what I would get for that. So I have no idea.
So yeah, the crafting materials, it does tell you when you get them.
Oh, so when you logged in today, it
and
told
the
you
Apex pack, you'll see
you got
that.
15 crafting materials.
No, right after that match,
Oh.
when I came out, it did say I got 15 crafting materials, but I didn't get the loot tick, and it just doesn't line up with the sequence, you know what I'm saying? So, if you get both after you find a pack, well, no, that's what it is. It shows you your next pack, what'll be in it.
Yeah, well, We haven't played long. I felt like we got the first treasure pack really soon last night, and I know you just got one, Grim, but I still haven't got one yet.
Today.
You didn't even get one yesterday?
I did. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get today's.
Oh, okay. I thought you didn't get one yesterday. I was gonna say you were pinging like a bunch of them.
Yeah, I felt like I got it really early yesterday.
Fuck, where's the crop
Right
circle?
there. Yep.
Is that it? Why does it look so different? Maybe it's just a different angle than we're used to dropping.
Open, what the? There's my first one. Okay, got my first treasure chest.
Alright, so after this game we'll be able to tell.
Oh, we got enemies down here.
I just got a shotgun. There's a body shield near zero.
Somebody opened my door. Was it you?
No, zero's on the.
No.
Oh, you're fighting across the way?
Oh,
Oh,
somebody
down that
probably
floor.
opened it and heard me and ran away.
Somebody else is firing
Behind
back at
you.
me, but I downed his teammate. You guys want to attack?
Oh shit!
Well, I'm coming to y'all. Oh, he's on this shit. He jumped off.
I can hear
He's in
the.
the
I
middle.
can
Zipping
hear
over
the
from the
robot
other side.
grappling around.
Somebody's up on the ship area, maybe. Not sure. Where was? Is there another
Yeah,
ship
in
somewhere?
that building.
I ruined mine. Not in those bins, Zero.
No, it's some dude beat me to him and I downed him, but his buddy got him up over there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anybody have any health fuel?
Yeah, I got
I'll get
two.
syringe in
Here's
here.
a full white body shield.
I just picked one up. Oh yeah, Zero needs it.
Thank you. So there's at least one squad on the other side, and then I don't know what happened to the dude we were chasing.
Yeah, he grappled away like a.
And I don't have
You have
much
one
ammo. I
anybody
can
have
fight
one
a little.
syringe?
I don't.
Let's do a Loba thing up there. Nice.
One sec, healing up.
Okay.
Alright, so I got a mastiff, so I need like a.
Oh yeah, I see somebody running into that lower door,
I need a cool bolt and a
or to that bin.
sight. Maybe if we get some cool sight.
I hear him, I think,
I
on
see
these
somebody up there.
stairs. I mean, not
Up
on the
the ramp.
stairs, but on the platform.
I could use another gun besides. I have two mastiffs, so if we see.
Somebody's
above
in the
us.
ship behind us. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, they
I
threw
got
the
some
thing.
hell
Tell
of
which
a-
one you are, Grim. Oh, Grim went up top.
They threw it
Grim
up on the
went
rock.
here. Oh wait, he's.
I'm back down. I
Okay.
went after that bitch. She's up on the rock. Oh, she's on. Oh, yep. They're all. Yeah, they're all just shooting down from above.
I just broke that one's shields that was shooting up high. Oh, we got a dude right above us. Oh, he's gonna fuck me up.
You wanna move somewhere?
Zero's in a fight. I'm coming.
Are you shooting up?
He's almost dead. He's down.
Oh, there's another one.
Totally out of ammo. Fuck.
I didn't even know you can get that high.
Up on those fucking rocks, man. We
Somebody's
can't get
coming?
to there from here, can we?
Oh,
Oh yeah, he just jumped in over me.
yeah.
God, I broke the Mirage's shield, but there's a medic right with him.
No clock. So they got getting shot at. Reloading.
Good try, shit. You were turning her up.
Yeah, so that person up on the rocks was a different squad, because she just jumped down and was like, looked in the box, and then turned around and looked back up at the rock and threw her bracelet back up. So it was a Loba.
Yeah, Lobo was just throwing a bracelet like high places and sniping.
What a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a bitch. Yeah.
Oh, Joe,
Oh,
look at
yeah.
this shit.
Okay,
Oh,
now it
change.
says
Did you get crafting materials and the Apex
Yeah,
pack?
now it says craft materials. No, I didn't get an
I still
Apex
haven't got
pack.
mine yet.
Now it says the 3000 CP is my next thing. About.
So what, did it just move up one?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
So about.
Oh, so everything just slides up one, so you get one thing per pack. Ah, okay. So according to that, then...
There's 45 packs that we're going to get.
And the three...
We're going to get one thing per pack. I'm on 2 of 45 now.
So ours match up now. Do you have that gold wingman thing in yours? The legendary first piece is your third thing? Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess you just get whatever the first one is on your next pack. Okay.
Are you sending us more porn?
Yeah,
what the hell is this?
This fucking... this is showing some... I don't know where this was posted at originally, but it shows some dude at a guy's work that has a little robot for opening bottle caps because he's too weak to open bottle caps on the fucking... on whatever that bottle of shit... Soylent, that meal replacement thing. Like, I guess they sell it in bottles.
Soylent?
3 words. Win and win again.
I mean, it's a bottle of that. But the dude at the guy's work has to have this little robot to twist off the caps for him because he doesn't have the fucking strength to open a bottle cap. It's like, and the bottom part's just like making fun of it.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of what his hand looks like, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're too weak because you just have a liquid diet.
That's never happened before.
And it's made you too weak to open the fucking bottle cap.
I'll break your heart, and then I'll break everything else.
I don't relish the title. I relish the kill.
Come get some. Move it or die.
Oh, fuck, I'm jump master? Oh, shit. It's like, damn, why is nobody jumping yet? As we're doing the ship, it was the only thing that we can get there on time on.
Why don't we wouldn't? What the fuck, man? Shit, now that spot's blue there.
I didn't get a gun. Can we hop off? Or we? Yeah, we're good. I hopped off.
Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Alright, let's jump.
No, get
Or
off.
do you
Get
wanna-
off. Get off.
I mean, you don't have to if
I'm
you
off.
don't need to, but I...
Yep, we're jumping, we're
two
jumping.
people that got the 2 other guns, so it was not looking good.
There's people over here.
Oh, we're coming towards
Oh, it's your
you.
lucky days, yeah. There's treasure pack
shit,
for
okay.
you.
Oh, good shit. There's somebody on us.
There's an
She's
Evo
down in
thing
the
for
treasure
you.
pack here for you, Zero, also. There's somebody else though.
Okay. I hear somebody else.
Where are they? In the
No,
building?
he's
or-
right.
They're down so far.
Shit, I didn't get either of those kills.
Getting sniped from market or something.
Shield battery here.
I'm hearing people coming from this
Right there,
house.
yep.
Zero, there's a thing over there you should grab if you can. A treasure chest by that.
I don't... What thing? Oh, yeah.
The Bangler
After
ran
we
away.
kill this fool.
It's on my decoy
Okay,
slate.
I got it,
don't
I
want
got
no
it.
smoke. I don't want no decoy.
Unless that's a different one. She's right up
On
in
the
there.
roof?
Inside. Second floor.
Oh, what the fuck? Yeah, I'm fucking dead now.
Oh, there's another person.
Jesus
God damn.
Christ, man.
Here's another one.
When I put it there.
That was 2 separate squads because Joe and I killed 2
Yeah.
of them, and then she was up there, and then a 4th
Yeah, there was
person
definitely
ran
2
in,
people
and
there that just killed me.
the Wraith.
Oh damn.
Motherfucker. -2 games. It's okay though. I'm still.
But that's why I was saying pick up that treasure chest, because in case we don't make it out of this.
Oh, I got my gold apex.
Oh yeah,
nice.
I did pick it up. I thought it was such an urgent fight for a second. I thought they were rotting our face.
Take one guess. Take one guess what my fucking gold legendary apex pack had in it. Take a guess.
Mozambique skin.
Yes. I get them all the fucking time, and they all suck. Like, it's like, what? I feel like I just got played.
It'd be funny if like, you pick one up a lot as a beginning gun, and they think you like it, and like they include that in the calculations.
Yeah.
Shit, there was something I wanted to do, and I forget. Oh, change this thing.
Okay, so now on my quest, it shows 3,000 CP, loot tick, Apex pack, legendary, the first piece.
Yeah, so we all have the same thing then.
Okay.
So you just get whatever that. So tomorrow we'll all get the 3,000 CP shit, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that even? Okay, like so.
You get 5 of them in a week, and then you get a chance to go on the hunt that week.
Oh, okay.
And then you could earn one of the 9 fucking artifact pieces. If you beat the hunt, that's to my best understanding what it is. I don't know. I'll be right back.
Sorry, I was sick of looking at the dumb Mastiff skin I had on it, so I had to switch. I had to switch it up. Switch it up. I had to switch it up. Switch it up. Alexa, play Mercules. What do you know, bitch? Why are you not playing Mercules already? I had to switch it up. Switch it up. And I switch 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 and my switch never came and I switch and I switch and I'm pissed off because the switch should have came and I switch and I switch when my shift didn't come, my switch didn't come. So yeah, so it was supposed to come like the 11th, then I got an email saying it was coming the 13th between 1:45 and 5:45. So that's today, right? I happen to be, I didn't even see that email. Or I did see an email saying it was coming today. So I happen to be like out talking to Kim in the dining room, and I see a UPS truck pull up out front, but park in front of my neighbor's house. So I'm like, oh shit, like really? They're gonna go there? They're not gonna come here? They get out and go to my next door neighbor's house. Then they take Walmart boxes full of toilet paper over to my neighbor's house across the street. And then he goes back in the back of the truck, and I'm like, all right, it's here, it's coming. Then he drives past my house and stops at the neighbor on the other side of me, gets out and delivers something to him. I'm like, are you serious? Then I look through my emails, and then I see I have an email saying it should be coming between 1:45 and 5:45 today. And this is at like 1:15, so I'm like, why would they send a second truck out? If this truck's route is on this street, why would they, and delivering to all the houses around me, why would it not be on this truck? But whatever. Then I look, then I get an email saying like I can actually follow the truck, and it says like, oh, it's in your it's in your area, it's almost there, and it's like in my section of Levittown, but it's like 2 streets over. So I'm like, all right, getting all excited. I keep checking in, it updates every so often. Here it's driving fucking away from me, so it probably was that truck, and it like went back to the thing, and then I got an email saying like it's not gonna be there. It's like delay, or it said instead of saying 5:45 was the latest, it was now telling me that it was gonna be 9 p.m. was the latest. And then at like 8:30 it changed to delayed. So because the truck was already back at, I could see it on the map. It was like, I don't know the address, but it was at like some big building with like a bunch of other trucks. I assumed it went back to its fucking home.
Old depot, yeah. That's fucking lame. Yeah, dude, that sucks. And usually, like, from what I learned from riding with them, like, there's not a lot of overlap. Like, I mean, it would have probably been
That's what I figured.
unless, like, you know, they missed one on accident or they were taking a load off somebody else's truck to help them out or something, you know.
Oh shit, Grim went up the other way. Okay. I thought you were this way.
We're counting.
That's why I started running that way, and all of a sudden you're not this way.
Help! Help! Somebody help me!
I got twin P-2020s ready to deal justice.
Really? That's what we got? I can give you a scout.
We dropped the R45 and
No, take it.
Don't handicap yourself.
I'm handicapped by you having a P-2020. Oh, you wanted that? Here. You ran past it, so I thought you didn't want it. Okay, Grim. Yeah.
I could use it. Yeah, I have a blue one.
I'll drop that for you, though. 0.
I got a stabilizer.
Put that on this other 45.
I need a heavy gun. Oh, somebody's got brought back from the left field.
Yeah,
okay,
let's go take their shit.
There's a shield battery right here.
I'll take it. Let's go take their shit.
Yeah, I can use it.
I'll take the
301.
Oh, actually, 0. You probably need a gas.
I need ammo.
No, I don't. I got. I'm fine with it.
Let's rock and
I'll
roll.
take this 45.
They came back in runoff, I guess.
Let's explore this way.
I'm guessing, right? It's no.
Either is there not one in the field below?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's in the field below.
Oh yeah. You're right.
But they might have ran into
The ship's landing at Mechanicsville.
Fuck's wrong with my goddamn down button?
Rings close.
Shoot this bird with a gold ass box.
Oh, I forgot I had that ability to do that. I'm boosting my. Oh, this is inactive.
Digital threat. There's a blue backpack in here.
Back here. Level 2.
It shows.
Oh, it's a sniper digital threat.
Optics here.
Oh shit. Who's shooting us?
They just shot
you.
decoy.
I missed it. Okay.
Bam to the woozle. Sending out a decoy. Hostile over there.
Oh, there's a hemlock in there.
Running to the left. There,
Somebody else
one's
already
flanking
over
us. Oh, okay.
Oh shit, there's another one over here.
Sending out another means.
Listen up, I'm getting shot at.
They're splitting up to fuck us up here.
I busted that one's shield. Shit.
There's just one right here.
Yeah, no, I was shooting at him, but there's also
damn it.
2 people to the left that are fucking us up.
Yeah, they moved.
Yeah,
in
they were
and
splitting
flanked
up to surround us.
I almost killed the Loba, and then their buddy came from her left and fucked me in the side.
Yeah, while I was shooting at that guy, I got sniped by the other 2 with hemlock 2 times. Fucking bastards.
Fucking bastards.
Yeah, I don't know what the move is at that point, but there's got to be a move to.
You're running
yeah.
across an open field.
Well, we
sucks.
should have got high ground, I guess, because that's.
I mean,
We were all in the open field and we were all spread out, but they just happened to have better visibility and positioning on us.
But once they start splitting,
they just had long range guns.
and they start.
Well, the other one was already here. The other one was so fucking close. He was here when we were shooting at the other ones. And he already had his fucking, he was Revenant. He had the thing set up for Revenant. And he was already like one of the
Oh,
fucking
I was
Revenant
shooting him
guys.
before he was a ghost. Oh, I don't know. When I was shooting him, he wasn't a ghost.
The
Yeah.
Revenant on the right side?
So I don't know if it was before or after, but when I was shooting him.
I didn't even know he was there until I seen him and I was by myself there.
Yeah, no, I was shooting him, and then he ducked behind the dune and started moving to the left. And I didn't have a shot on him, but I was getting shot from the left. But when they split like that, and they're surrounding us, and we're just caught in a crossfire, I don't know, but I feel like we should pick one, rush
I
them,
don't either.
and like go focus fire one. Pick one, rush them, put them down, and then it's 3-on-2. And then
Yeah, that's what I agree. But the other people are so far they can just duck behind the rocks. At least this dude we can get to and kill real quick. That's why
Yeah,
I figured
2 of them.
go to him first.
okay,
We were on different
guys could kill 'em.
altitudes.
so
and
that's
different ones had cover from some of us. Yeah, maybe
that'll
Russian
be
one's
yeah.
the best.
So all right,
I
so
don't
then
know
that's
either.
the plan. If that happens and they split, give best directions to the one that's open or closest or whatever, and
Yeah, at least in some. I can't say in every
No.
case because, like, if we had all rushed the one on Grim, those 2 from the left would have still killed us. I mean, they would have been shooting
right,
us
but
in the
I
back.
don't think they would have taken
No,
all 3 of
we're
us
solid.
down. I think we
Could have
Right.
got some cover, or at least killed that dude.
right. We
off the bat.
probably gonna put him down, and then
Yeah,
2 people.
Because the
Later.
other, sniping at the other people, they're almost dead. They just stuck behind a rock and were so far away. And by the time we get there, they're healed up. So focusing on them, I feel like
I mean, yeah. That's what the Revenant did.
he was the,
Which
he
one?
was the closer.
I
threat,
shot him
guess.
until he ducked behind the sand dune, and then
yeah. I didn't even. Well, I was focused on those other 2 because they were like right in my line of shit there. And one of them ran up on me and almost killed her, and then her buddy got me
Come
from the
on,
side.
man.
here you can have it. I got it. I'll take that blue.
That's fine. I picked yours up.
I just was sliding down the hill behind you, so I grabbed it. I tried to grab it, and it worked.
Nobody needs an Apex pack, right? Or the treasure shit.
I'm like, shit, I'll take
no.
an Apex pack. You're just giving them out.
Attention. First blood.
There you go, 0.
Level 2.
Thank you.
Dibs.
A shirt for y'all.
Stop,
Oh no.
stop having your titties out.
Light ammo here.
I can't fucking climb this. Oh my god, dude.
Optics here. Close range.
Attention. Champion has been eliminated.
Champion out.
Shooting bird.
Light ammo here. Extended light mag. Level 1.
Give me that purple box, bitch.
Any light guns over there?
I dropped a alternator somewhere over there. I think in the bins right down from the bins in the hill you're on there. Like around that bin.
Oh, is that a mastiff? Ooh, I'll do it. I'ma do it.
Yeah, here's
Dropping
yeah.
a 45 here.
45 here. Light ammo here.
I'm good.
Any other blue bins that I can open? Yeah.
Extended lot mac.
Oh,
There you go.
another mastiff over here. Mastiff party. Dropping the energy guns.
Energy ammo here.
I just dropped energy ammo to pick up more energy ammo.
You shooting at us?
Think so. Where do we want to go? Ships landing over there? I don't know.
Ship over there.
The fuck is this? new.
You know what? I did hear in a video someone
Oh,
talking about there's
wow.
new ways to get to the balloon. But I haven't seen
We
this.
need to jump
I don't
or
know.
we keep
We're gonna-
zipping? I don't know. Will we die if we don't? Oh my god, you start flying
you-
at the top. I did not expect that.
That's pretty awesome. Oh, we got a bird in this area too.
I was like waiting for my. I thought I was like falling off and shit.
People have looted this shit.
Look at us. We're already inside this next ring.
Oh, they must have good shit. They left the blue bag. Who's? Oh, they're zipping over there. Oh, that's
301 over here.
Okay.
Energy ammo here.
Yeah, he dropped off that zip, so I guess he just went back where he
Oh, he
was.
didn't fly away.
No. I don't know if he saw us and he's
Yeah,
I could definitely.
coming to attack us.
Oh,
Oh, now
yeah.
somebody's finding it.
Shit. I could definitely use some.
Yo, where's it coming from?
On the roof.
On our roof?
Shit. Yep, he's right up there. He's right up there.
Yeah, I fucked up the robot.
Broke 2 shields.
Got one. Oh, okay, one's down.
One's down. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Last thread is right there. Yeah.
Night, beard, suck on them titties. Oh shit, Grim's up? How did that happen?
Titty sucking, titty sucking.
I got myself up.
Thermite grenade here. Extended light mag here.
I'm dropping one of those shield batteries. I just
Body shield here. Level 1.
wouldn't let me pick up just one.
I could probably call in. I need heavy ammo too. Oh, there's 6 bullets there.
Oh, can you drop
yeah,
your health
yeah,
ticket?
yeah, right there. I forgot all about that.
Thanks.
Gave you a food box. Hope you didn't eat, so I just gave him food in this pill. How's it going?
It's going okie dokie so far.
Plat?
What'd you call me?
You're plat.
No, I'm not plat. It's a new season, so I'm about to call in my thingy, and then I'm gonna pop.
There's 4 boxes up here? Wait, I feel like I missed one then. I don't know which one though.
There's no more
Oh, I
heavy.
thought I had no syringes. I do have syringes.
Why is there 4 boxes up here? Oh, one was the bird box. That's what it was.
Here's 60 line ammo.
Come and get your birthday present.
Good shit.
Syringe here. Barrel stabilizer here.
Oh,
Anybody
you
have
must already
extra
be on
shield
top
batteries?
10.
No, I have
Any
one. I have a
chance?
Phoenix kit though.
I dropped a shield. Yeah, I got one. Shit, I'm gonna temporarily pick up these syringes if one of us needs them. We can have
I'm
'em.
gonna. What is this? There's. Grab this ultimate accelerant. Pop it. And then I'm at. This will put me at 60. I don't know, almost 70. Another ultimate accelerant. I can be pretty close to another thing in my bob.
We're down here in this next, where I'm marked there in the next little neighborhood. Market. I didn't realize this is market.
New kill leader, soon to be me.
Alright, I'm gonna check these buildings out over here then. Oh,
Enemies,
shit.
enemies, enemies in the market.
Come on.
I'm zipping to the roof.
I'm here.
I'm gonna throw Joe a zippity zip.
My man. Oh, somebody's being respawned right over there. Right
Oh,
over
somebody's getting brought.
there. Well, let's worry about the market people first.
Yeah, I only seem to hear one in here. I don't know if he's with them or not. I'm gonna drop
I'm
down.
doing some of my decoy around.
He might have been running beside the market, going to that respawn thing.
There's boxes here.
Probably. Oh shit, fucking boxes everywhere.
Oh shit!
Shit.
Maybe these
No heavy?
suckers.
Fuck.
I'll be coming back. Here's a box of heavy.
Yeah.
Or 25.
Energy ammo here.
Oh yeah, there's some good shit. Anybody want a longbow?
Nah, I just put 4 syringes in there.
Syringe here. Standard stock here. Level 2. Seconds. Rings just up ahead.
Ring's about to be here.
I think I hear people in the market now. It may be one of us.
I'm right above you.
It's just us. Yeah.
Alright, so let's get moving.
Dude, I just cannot. Come on. Oh, now I hear enemies for damn
Alright,
sure right down here.
Well, the ring's
Outside,
coming
I
in
think.
10 seconds.
Ring's
yeah,
moving in
let's
10 seconds.
Let's get
Probably
together.
move
Okay,
in.
yeah, let's go to Grim. Let's go to Grim, yeah.
Up. I'm hearing them out here.
Using the decoy. Making contact here.
There they are. People going in this building here.
Alright.
Rings moving.
Yep, I see him.
Burning myself. Fuck.
Shit. We're getting
No,
shot from
no,
behind now.
In the back, yeah.
God damn it.
Fuck, I'm gonna die in the fucking storm, man.
I'm
I'm just gonna try to
shit,
get in.
you guys went
Yeah,
that way?
Oh,
Fuck.
man, it's cut off. I can't go that way.
And there goes my shield.
Oh god, I'm walking
yeah,
off the
yeah,
cliff. I'm walking off
fuck
the goddamn
yeah,
cliff. Oh
I'm
my
dead
god. No.
Yeah. That's why I try to stay ahead of the storm, because everybody runs in with the storm and get fucked.
Yeah.
Get it back. I'll be right back.
Oh shit, it put my box up top. I fell in the ocean. That's awesome.
Just a sec. 1 second.
Shit, they're just chilling on that roof. They're probably gonna stay there that whole
Wow,
time.
those guys are assholes. Yeah, maybe you should just see what you can place. Oh fuck. Yeah, there's at least 2 in there.
Shit, I don't
Probably
know if
3.
there's a way that I can get. Dumb bitch. Oh
awesome.
man, that's good stuff.
Dude, your points just went up. Oh, we're top 5. Okay, excellent.
So maybe,
She must have been the last of one of the squads.
yeah.
45 until we
Shit.
close.
Yeah, that squad is still sitting over there.
Well, it's hard to really poke your head out. Is there any way you can run to their left? Probably not. Maybe wait till the storm.
Yeah.
They're coming for you.
Oh no, they're running away now. Are you kidding me? Well, because there was all these boxes, so it took them.
Isn't there a respawn
Yeah,
right
but I
there?
wasn't able to get your box because,
Yeah, so I came back and saw the end.
4 seconds.
They
4
were
seconds.
near
Joe.
us, they couldn't
Yeah.
go get it or something.
Did you see the,
I meant respawn for 0.
Yeah.
Zero's down there. Wasn't there one right there? By
yeah, but not.
Well, yeah, it's the kind that you're surrounded. I don't want him to commit suicide to do it because might as well get some points.
Oh, there's a robot in here. Yeah, there was an awesome, bitch, Loba. She like threw a bracelet to try to like sneak up behind me and didn't make it and fell in the ocean. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fell into the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, you fell in the ocean?
Yeah. Off a roof.
What if you don't hit right
above him.
trigger? Can you get back out of it?
No,
and
once it
just not
reaches
teleport.
the end.
The end,
Yeah.
it makes you go there.
You got somebody on your left.
Yeah, no shit. I was gonna try to get you here, but
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just survive best you can.
well,
Yeah. You put her out, you'll get more points. Just...
oh shit.
Oh! They almost, maybe they did.
Nah, I think they were on our team. I think she was pinging me the whole time, but I was so fucked up and I didn't have any like big shield, so
Yeah.
I figured I needed health and shield. I would do the Phoenix.
Yeah, you almost escaped and got her anyway.
Well, we got top 5, so I'm silver 3.
I would rather get top 5 and get some decent points and advance than like go on a suicide mission to get somebody back and be number 7 and have less points.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If it's that close to like a big jump, like if it's like, I don't know, if we're 11th,
yeah,
11th
left or 6th left or something like that, you know.
What the fuck? Oh, give me a second. I was
Yeah, I got
up
pee. I'll be right back.
from the other room.
I did, but we're not. Oh, yeah,
Heard some
we're
crazy
good.
noise, but now I don't see anything. So forgot what the fuck that was. Got me. I don't know.
Don't be embarrassed.
Of all the fights, this was a pretty furnace. You can't.
I know your every move. There's a void in your heart.
Oh shit! I didn't realize you came back and were ready to. Oh shit!
Oh, okay. So Loba can ping legendary loot through wall. See on a tooltip.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Do you ping it? I thought you could just see it. You
Yeah,
never
you could
noticed that?
see
Yeah, I
it,
just
but I didn't
saw
know
it
you could
yet,
ping
but
it.
That's what I read.
Today will be one of those.
Oh,
That's
and you
what
can
Zero's
ping it
saying,
too.
yeah.
That's cool.
I just saw that on a tooltip. I mean, you know, a little loading screen tip.
Only legendary or purple too?
Legendary and epic or whatever. Yeah, both.
Because like I've called it out verbally, but if I could ping it, that probably would just be better.
Introducing your champion.
Have you prepared for your end? I have. Oh yeah, master of the jump, right here.
Ooh, okay, we're going in through the top.
Yep.
Follow the leader.
The only way.
I got a live stream this. Look at this move.
Well, we got company.
Oh, fucking surrounded. She punched me. Nice. Oh, bitch.
Boom,
I'm
bitch.
down. Yeah, thank you. You want to punch me? Like, they cornered me. One was punching, one was shooting. I downed one with a mastiff, but, like, then I just wound up getting punched to death.
Yeah, I'm terrible with the charge.
There's a havoc, but and there's the energy for it.
If I start firing that around, it would scare him, and it seemed to work. I did hit people for some decent damage. Surprisingly.
I didn't mean to ping that heavy mag. I was trying to ping it for whoever picks up the flatline.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 3.
What color is it? White?
I'll take that. Level 3, Johnny John.
Is that a fucking bird? What the fuck was that?
I just grappled a second ago. I don't know if that was me, but
No, when I jumped off the side, I thought I saw something fly over my head, but I didn't hear anything. So I don't know.
oh, never mind. I just okay. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a shirt down here too.
Oh, okay, sweet. We both need some health heals, I see.
I have 2 syringes.
Yeah, it would be helpful.
Oh, I actually, hold on, I got, getting a cut here. I got that for somebody. I just dropped 4 syringes and a select fire.
Oh, so yeah.
I need one more, I guess. I mean, not one more than the 4, but I needed 3 of those 4.
And I'll just heal every time.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll give you this one back. That was
Good.
enough to
You
heal
are
me.
good. I will heal over time. That's why I give them up.
Alrighty, thanks.
That's my superpower. Which way do you want to go?
I don't know. Can you go into there?
Sure. Oh.
Sure.
Get the bamboozling. Using the decoy escape.
Yeah, so by the time I'm done my ultimate, I have it back within like, it's already at 33% by the time my decoys stop running.
Oh, nice.
Damn.
That's
Or
crazy.
something like that. Close
Because
to that.
there's somebody else, I don't know, where they don't, where I thought that it would work like that, and it doesn't. You don't get, it doesn't even start counting until you're done. Maybe Lifeline, I thought that like you could call it in, and while it's coming down, you could like pop a thingamabob. Like an ultimate accelerant. Damn.
Oh, you can't do it till
Yeah.
it lands.
This whole area hasn't been looted yet.
Yeah, you ran past the shield battery, Grim. Are you aware that you did that? It was
Where was it at?
inside the wall building. I picked it up, but
Oh, yeah, I didn't do any more piles. I was going outside because I did that room. I figured I'd let you guys get whatever's in there.
Yeah, it was the pile right by the door. Like, I was behind you and you ran past, and I was like, hold up. I'll make a U-turn for that.
Skirt.
Make a U-turn, do a little skeet for that sheet.
Level 3. Optics here. Mid-range.
Like 90 energy ammo or something.
I'm
like
lighting shotgun
Alrighty.
this game mode.
Speaking Spanish again.
Wait, what? I picked up one syringe.
I think I dropped some of that out.
I was just
Not, there's definitely some
I was
around
like,
there.
where did I get ones?
And I dropped some more somewhere else. I thought you would have got them.
No, I just got the.
Oh, so you have more than one, but you picked up a
No,
single
I only have
saying.
one. I dropped 4 in the beginning when you guys needed heals.
Yeah.
And then I picked up
Yeah, I
just
didn't.
a syringe somewhere else. I don't know where that would have been.
Yeah, I could use that.
Yeah, I've been dropping. Maybe I just dropped 4 in that. Summer recently said, fuck it, I don't need a lot of health, and just dropped it. Also dropped that select fire because I've been running out of fucking room. But now I got a prowler.
Yeah, I got one of those already, yo. Thank you, though, buddy, yo. That's 4 shield cells.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit, storm's coming in.
Yeah, I'm running. Oh yeah, Joe, you're running in the dangerous
Okay, yeah, I
direction.
just grabbed a shield battery, a med kit, and a blue stabilizer. White heavy clip. Does anybody need it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
What the fuck? Where did I leave this? Fuck, dude. This is the wrong
What are you
building.
looking for?
It's further back. Select fire. I think I left it in
Oh,
that
yeah.
building. I thought that's where I was. I think that's where the syringes are, Joe.
Okay, yeah, I
You
picked
got
up
4 of
some.
them?
I could hold one more, but
You guys want to go up the stairs where we came from, or up the valley, or
Oh,
what?
there's 2 in
Gotta
there,
take-
I
fast.
don't care.
and then there's 2 there.
I don't know which
might
is
be faster to
closer.
go this way, actually.
Okay.
The other way we gotta do all the snake shit. Yeah.
And I don't like that snake shit.
Fuck that snake ass shit.
Sneaky snake. It's a sneaky snake.
Ooh, we're almost top 5.
We can keep going this way if you want.
Jerseys.
Yeah, that's fine.
Circle.
That's a little different approach. I like that. Edge.
I heard gunshots over here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You see him? Right there.
Oh yeah. Oh, and they're fighting
Yeah, so
guys in
start right
here.
to the left.
Alright,
They're-
so let's
they're
go
getting
up
on the
behind
Loba
them.
just threw their thing to go up behind.
Okay.
Loba, she's right on me. Are you healing,
Another
bitch?
Loba just
Are
threw
you
her
healing?
thing.
Like right here.
Got one down.
Nice, that person turned right to a box.
Got him?
Whoever Zero just shot just turned right to a box.
No, I killed him. Oh, over the wall on you, Joe. Back behind you.
I'm doing 13 damage per shot. Are you kidding me? Thank you.
Now that's getting some positioning on motherfuckers.
They need options. Fucking none.
There's like 105 boxes.
I got none of them bitches. I probably still won't find it. It doesn't help me. Oh shit.
Hey, there's a circle
There's
site.
2 Phoenix kits. It's right.
USOD as well. In this box I was looking at.
There-
2 other
10,
squads, boys.
10 heavy ammos in there.
I'm gonna tell you what, this was the place to
the
be.
Fucking party over here.
A lot of fucking heavy ammo in there.
Heavy
say?
mag. I got 2 used now. Bernie's are purple heavy mag. There we go, Bernie. Oh, heavy bullets. That's what I fucking need. I'm rolling them.
There's like
oh, that was
236 heavy right
there.
All right now. Okay, I'm good.
Blue heavy. You need a purple heavy though, right?
Yeah.
I'll check.
We're probably all alone, but I kind of feel like we're looting a long time.
We got 14 seconds. We're still in the circle.
Well, no, I mean not
one
because
more,
of the circle.
one more Bernie, and I'll have a sweet ass setup. Oh, well,
I didn't even see this floating gold box back here.
Wow, I didn't either. God damn, there's a bunch of boxes here.
Floating.
Oh, there they are. There they are. You guys ready to go do some effing in there? Oh, I don't hear anymore.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing some grenados.
Yeah, the fire died down though.
Alright, I'm coming.
Maybe they were just trying to lure people in.
Maybe. I don't even know my way around here. I don't know what's fucking different.
I don't either. You want to just get up to
the
sounds like a real
care
fight.
package that just came in?
Or is that just a rocket?
Oh, I can't hear it now. Oh, now I hear it.
Yeah, it sounds far away.
Yeah.
They're shooting for sure. They're fighting. We need to get there pronto.
Lifeline care package dropped in right up here, so be careful. Or maybe...
Yeah, this is where the 2 teams are fighting. Yeah, right down here somewhere.
Okay, I thought the care package was up here, but it's not.
Oh shit, over to the southwest.
Okay.
I hear somebody healing. Maybe this way.
Alright. I'm above you, just let me know.
Yeah, somebody's in there. Stay hidden, stay hidden. Stay hidden. Oh, never mind.
I'm hit. Oh, here she comes. Got her.
Alright, it's just us and them.
Hey, there's more dudes in here. There's more dudes in this building.
Oh my god, I almost fucking died, bro.
Oh, dude right here. They're not burning there. They're going out that end. Where you at, bitch?
Nice.
Yeah.
Soldiers
of fortune. Oh yeah.
Damn. That's what I'm talking about.
You are the Apex champions.
We all had kills and assists, so damn.
Yeah,
I think I had 3 assists, only 1 kill though. But
yeah, you had 1 kill. It's your assist.
But putting that win to, because it multiplies by 25. 2 assists, 1 kill, 2 assists.
Yeah, I got
I got
213
163.
points.
Class 163.
What'd you get, 0 point wise? I'm already looking at Facebook.
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
I'll be right back.
I'm already reading some posts by this dumb bitch I don't even like. Yeah, I gotta pay too.
What is this?
What?
How many points did I get?
Yes.
Is that what you...
Okay.
213.
I'm ready not to go to the bathroom.
Yo.
The ring isn't really complex, but it can be a little complicated. Wait, what did I just say? We will defeat all of our enemies. Harder, faster, stronger.
Introducing your champion.
Fuck's the ship doing? It's like on the ground.
Supply ship over there.
That's curious. I want to check it out. Nope, going like 5 miles an hour. Alright. How the fuck's it like already landed? It's weird, right?
I'm going like, I mean, oh, the ship is going slow as fuck. Okay, I thought you were saying we were diving slow.
No, the ship just started on the ground, is what I think.
Oh, that's, yeah, that's really weird. Oh shit.
I've never noticed that.
You got a gun?
Oh, cool, we landed.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, good thing we're the only ones here. This is insane-o. How long have we
looks
been
like
landed
it.
for?
So the ship was already on the ground.
When we landed?
So I came here because I thought it was weird. I've never seen that. When as soon as
I haven't
we
either.
were on the jump ship, it was already on the ground. No, it wasn't looted.
Yeah, no. No, I was asking, like, you said it was already on the ground. I said, when we... I don't know what I said. I meant when we launched or when we jumped.
As soon as the ship landed, it was on the ground. That's what it was, and it was all the way across the map. So, alright, well, that's curious. I'd like to see why. And you know why? Because there's nothing good on it.
By that flat line.
They only clear them to leave if they have a good amount of loot on them.
Mastiff and Hemlock this game.
Shotgun shells up where I'm at.
Yeah. Shield battery. Prowler over here.
Prowler SMG here.
We'll move into that other shit. That away.
Sure. Let me,
Oh, I just saw Pulse go out. There's a Loba in there.
Okay.
all this stuff's like, no, okay, I'm coming. Just trying to keep seeing heals. Bam goes the boozle.
Oh, there they
I
are.
hear,
There
I
they
hear.
are.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm above you on the pipes. Oh, I see them in the window.
There's one in here and there's one in the other place.
I'm burning somebody upstairs here.
Shit.
Ah,
Yeah,
let's
there's
go
somebody up there.
upstairs.
There was a Watson.
Yeah, I'm gonna scare him.
I burnt the shit out of that Watson.
We're together. They're in the hallway.
Oh man, they just fucked me up. Yeah, I need
very
to.
bad.
I'm throwing a Bernie stick up there. I need to heal.
All three of them are right here. God damn it.
Yeah, they fucked me up immediately.
I don't even know how that fucking happened. Somebody definitely was in the arm of that building that stretches out. They were up at the end where you said you were burning them. But then all three of them were behind the door on the other fucking side. So how they all oh, Loba. Maybe they were they a Loba?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
sure,
no, yeah, it was
sure,
everywhere.
sure,
Trying to pick it up. That's why I danced around and I wound up shutting the door. Damn.
Why say damn?
Nah, they fucked me up. It's like as soon as I guess as soon as the door was open, no, because the door was open. I don't know. But all of a sudden it was like I was fine, and then I
think they zipped up. They both zipped up.
No, I'm in the very beginning.
Didn't they zip up?
Well, like we all looked down the hallway, and then all of a sudden I had no shield and like less than half health. Like instantly.
Wish I had more throwables. All I had was an arc star. I used it.
I'm gonna try Loba again.
I came here for revenge, but I'll stay for the treasure.
Let's see, right there, when that Watson was hiding behind the corner, if I used my old ultimate, could have easily just went right behind her and she never would have noticed. And she'd be dead by the time she realized I was behind her.
Right.
That's why I liked it better. This one I'm not really liking. I mean,
You're falling for me already.
and then I'll even do it, and then they seem to know exactly where I am and shoot me somehow, or they just shoot all of them. I don't know.
Let's land here.
I just been using them in big fights just to confuse the enemy, but honestly, it's making it harder for me to fucking see where they are. There's fucking mad motherfuckers running everywhere. On your screen, it probably looks different. They don't look like real people, right?
No, they do. They just have decoy written above them.
They're see-through? Yeah, on my screen, they look like they're
Yeah, no, there's solid people on ours. They have decoy written above them.
Oh, yep. Ow.
But it's still, when there's like 100 fucking people, it's insane in the membrane.
Wait. It says decoy above them on yours. Oh, yeah. If you're on their team with them. Yeah,
people are up here. They're coming towards the building you're in, Jeff. Just so you know. I didn't loot fucking anything yet. Do that really quick.
God damn, right there, 2 of them.
There's 2 of them.
There's somebody up here with me.
Oh, there's the 3rd one. I'll just walk the. No, there's fucking 3 in there. I'm the one outside.
Shit, they're here shooting at me. Fuck! Yeah, my bad. I didn't know that you weren't at the controller.
That's fine. Would you go straight down?
That was
I came
just,
in as soon as
I went,
I heard the shit.
No, but I
really fast,
could have gone further.
And that's fine. I waited till after the champion. Usually that's what I do. I wait till after the champions say who they are and I come in. Just real quick.
Yeah, I realized as we were landing and you didn't break off, then I heard like your door shut.
Hmm.
The championship is ours.
Fly fighter. The end is decided. Trust it.
All right, let's do this. It'll be fun. If not, well, we all make bad choices. You live, you learn. Life goes on.
Introducing your champion.
I may be smiling, but that also means I'm happy.
Bastard child. Nothing now. Playing with Land and Maui. Like from the bottom. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good one.
Follow the leader. Never mind. Let's check it over there.
Yeah, like that building you pinged is like where the Loba tried to throw a bracelet, I guess from like over here. And I saw the bracelet go, and then all of a sudden...
God, you went right in the water?
That was pretty funny.
You see a box here on the other side?
I watched her, like, I saw it happen, and then, like, I, like, went to the edge and, like, watched her body fall down until I couldn't see it anymore.
I pinged the blue shirt. Yeah, you don't need it.
Oh, I didn't hear it ping. Thank you.
I pinged a blue shirt and a blue bag. There's the blue shirt he pinged.
I got him. Yeah, I think maybe a couple of things got pinged in close proximity and it kind of confused. I didn't hear the shirt part or something.
That's what they all say. Hey,
A lot of ammo next to it. I'm gonna put down a Spitfire if anybody wants it.
Yeah, we're gonna run shotgun and light this game. Always shotgun, always shotgun. I'm really liking the Mastiff. Oh, are we leaving here?
I was just going around.
I'm just flying back. I just want to see what happens. I can like to know if you can do an escape move and then on that zip line and fly back. I was just curious. Whatever side you're aiming from, you fly from.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody have any light to spare or see some light?
I got 80. I can drop a box.
There you go. There's 60.
Hold up. Man, I thought I heard like a heavy thud. I guess not. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, a box is fine. I've just got a scout. I just wanted something to shoot out of it.
He just gave you
more than one clip. Oh, he gave me a stack. Thank you. Yeah, Grim gave me 60. Don't worry about it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh shit! There's people here.
Oh
shit!
I think.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck!
They didn't see me. Yes, they saw me now.
Right there's one.
Oh yeah, they're chasing him down the hill. They see him now, maybe.
Nice. Yeah, they're down now. They're down now.
Yeah.
Oh, coming from up here.
Sliding down the bridge. Sliding down the bridge.
I got it. I'm.
Yeah,
there's another one up here.
On the
I gotta
right.
heal. I'm literally like one hit. Oh shit! I should have just done this Phoenix. I didn't realize I didn't have any shields.
I hit that bitch for 70 something.
That's ready to get crazy. I'm going around the other side.
Shielding up. I'm coming.
Smoke them out. There's one.
Yeah, I just got that elimination.
Yeah.
So that's the squad, I guess. Good shit.
Nice. Here's a full blue shirt.
Oh, you take that full blue shirt.
No, 0 out of purple one. My bad. Excuse me.
I was like, give me them purple shirts.
Yeah, fuck a purple shirt. Or blue shirt.
Anybody need a couple syringes?
The other box.
There's one box, yeah. There wasn't much in it. I got it.
Anything else in there?
Oh, there was heavy ammo I got for you. Is there anything left in these boxes up here?
Yeah, there's some things.
Yes.
I think.
I could use heavy.
Okay, yeah, here.
Yes,
42 heavies. I grabbed that in there. Oh, and a heavy clip I just put in here. Actually.
I have a blue one.
Anybody, I've got 2 syringes to spare if anybody needs.
I got 12 syringes. So does anybody need syringes?
I'm good. I'm down a ton of heals.
I don't have a lot of shields though.
Something flying
a little
in.
bit noise.
Oh,
Go
okay,
right
okay. We're at Grim. We.
Up on this fucking rock.
Okay.
And you're sending a crypto drone out too. Alright, you ready?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Here we go.
Behind that rock. Shit! One's up above us. One's not.
Oh, they're shooting from across the way. Man, they just keep fucking me up.
One's behind that rock.
I'm healing up.
Yeah, me too.
Shit! There's two of them on that damn rock. Broke the shields on the one on top of the rock.
Okay.
Let me go around the other side.
I won't have a full shield, but I'll be ready in 1 second. Oh, just...
Alright, I'm ready.
Got one of the fools. Only one left on the top of the rock.
Yeah.
Oh, she's running to the... She's winning there.
What is in there? I was gonna load the shit.
Ooh, purple Eva?
Oh,
yeah, she's on top
Evo shield?
I'm going
I hit her
over
for
there.
60.
Alright, well, I'll get it later. I'm just trying to...
Here, I'm throwing a zip to that. Oh, it won't let me do it.
You see her stuff? She's on the roof?
Oh, she's sniping. She's sniping.
Hit her for 50? Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
bitch.
our box fell in the water.
Oh, our box in the water.
Oh shit, dude, I'm afraid you're gonna fall in the fucking water.
Stay in there?
Oh, good shit.
Come back out.
Well, mine came out when I fell in the water. I don't see it though.
Oh, it went back on the roof.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you're
Yep. Another purple shield. Purple McNurple. Ooh, I need that 3x. Yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh, shit.
Yo.
Get blind.
Does... So, shield sells heal 2?
Where's all these boxes at? Point them out, 'cause the storm's coming in. We gotta loot them real quick. Oh, right here.
Okay.
So does shield
Heal
sells
2
what?
things now, or is that just because I have a gold shield?
Nah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It must be a.
Where's the other box?
A new
You know
thing.
the other one over
No.
here is? Anybody?
No. One of them fell off. Oh, here the wall is. Oh, it's just round one. One of them seemed to have crawled off the rock into the ocean when one of y'all shot him. So I don't see it. I don't see where it went.
Target.
So I guess it's just because I got a
But
gold shield.
here's one. I guess you just saw that.
Definitely good to know.
So it heals one cell heals two.
And then the syringes
That's
also
crazy.
heal bigger sections.
Do double? Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, they did make changes. I thought they made it 50% slower.
It might be. It definitely does feel slower. But it heals twice as much.
But it heals too, so that's something different.
Guys, we're pretty spread out. I'm running to get this blue clip. All right. Do you got which?
I'll meet up with you.
You guys want to go toward
No,
market?
no, I'm just doing a lap in here. There's some heavy bullets in here. I'll grab for you.
I mean, it's toward the circle.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Either
If you
way
guys
is
wanna come
fine.
back, whatever.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's fine. Either way is fine.
Whatever y'all want to do. I was gonna grab that heavy ammo and bring it to you.
Was this looted yet in here?
I pinged everything that was worth anything.
I hear people in the cave. I think. Yep, people in the
Okay.
cave.
Coming. Nobody want that heavy ammo?
Oh, I could have sworn it was in the cave.
No hostiles ahead of us.
Damn. Maybe man, it sounded to my left for sure. I don't, but it sounded metallic kind of too, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, somebody looted that 37 seconds ago. And then went this way. 37.
37.
Oh shit! I might just see something else. That was my indicator.
Looted that 38 seconds ago. 35.
So they had to have gone this way. And probably cut her right.
Yeah.
It's probably them fighting right now.
Oh, on top of that rock.
Fuck!
I'm tearing up those motherfuckers.
Yeah, they're fucking me up.
Busting their ass.
Oh no, they're doing
One of them cut off.
Gibraltar thing on us. We'll never recover from that.
You.
They're coming, they're coming. Get some, bitch.
Alright, Zero, you should shield up. I got you covered.
Yep.
Look at us right here.
Oh god.
Shit in the rings.
Yep, yep. So they're right there. Both right
Burn them.
Man, that Gibraltar has to be almost
somebody's
down.
burnt. Oh, they sent a raid portal. And they're running away.
Are they? If they're fighting another squad.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize they were. Yeah,
heal and shit.
I thought one of them was just.
They came to the thing.
I'm gonna have one big.
Oh, through the race.
Oh, she just went back through. Oh no, she just raced. Oh yeah, she just ran back through now.
You.
But a Bangalore smoked also, so.
Can you destroy your wraith portal?
I don't think so.
Nah. If you yelled it loud.
Oh, on top of us, on top. Oh god, they're here. They're
Somebody dipped into the smoke. Oh no, I went in the fucking portal.
This Bane's got his shield broken. Yeah.
The robot get himself up.
Okay, nice.
Good shit.
That is what I'm talking about, fellas.
Hell yeah.
Someone else is shooting.
Okay. We're healing up.
Fuck.
I don't have any more throwables.
Oh, motherfucker. She's...
You slippery bitch.
Nice. Heal up, Zero.
Shit. Yeah, I'm, there we go, Phoenix kit. We all need to heal.
Shit, we have 10 fucking seconds.
I'll just grab as many heals.
Shit, we gotta go this way. We gotta go this way.
Get heals,
Yeah, I'm grabbing all the heals I can.
Oh, cool, there's a fucking squad waiting for us. That's pretty sweet.
Fuck.
Fucking Christ, man.
Fuck. Fuck.
And it's round 3. Fuck.
Infinite squads. Check the damage.
Damn, Zero, 1800 damage.
You did bad.
Grim almost had 9. I had fucking less than 5.
That's a lot, though. That's a lot of combined damage. Over 3,000. That was a pretty good game. That was fun as hell, though. I mean, regardless of the bad luck, it was fun, like, stomping 2 or 3 squads. I mean, I guess in total, we fucked up, I don't know how many squads. How many kills
I had
did you
3,
have?
Grim had 2, you had 4.
All
so
right,
it's 9.
yeah.
So
Yeah, 3 squads. Plus, we were hurting that last one that was fucking with us. So. Oh yeah, oh I can almost taste that gold.
yeah, I'm 143 points from silver 2.
Dude, time is flying tonight. I can't believe we've been playing for like 2 hours.
Yeah, buddy. So it's an interesting change to the gold shield. So before the gold shield with the quick heals, it made sense for them to have the big heals because they could heal them faster. So it would cut all the time in there.
So what happens with a big shield?
It'll still heal you all the way, but you can get the same done with 2 small. So it's still faster to do a big, but you can. If you don't have a lot of heals, I mean it's a better economy, better economically to do small ones.
But do you still get the full one at full speed, or is that what's at half speed? I remember reading something about speed.
I know it all.
Because if anything, that'd be a buff.
It doesn't seem as fast as it used to.
It's definitely been nerfed.
So it seems like it heals the same speed as other things. Maybe it's a little bit faster, but it doesn't. Definitely not as fast as it used to be. I wasn't looking at the numbers, but.
So the shield cells. So I know that I read the whole reasoning behind it. 'Cause people are complaining that you're fighting somebody, you pop a gold shield in 2.5 seconds, and refill their whole shield. You know. So I wonder what happens with the big ones. I missed the part about the little ones doing too. But then a big shield, a shield battery, what would that do? That's what I'm curious about. It seems like the little ones work at regular speed that do twice as much healing.
I don't know. All of the heals seem. It's not as fast as it used to be. Doesn't matter what size it is. All of them are. I mean, I used just about all during that game. I don't think I used a Phoenix yet.
But it seemed about as fast as a regular shield cell, though, right? But it just did twice as much.
Yeah, it didn't seem as fast as like the gold shield used to be. It seemed like all of the heals have been slowed down to maybe normal speed or 25% faster. Maybe it heals as quick as a lifeline. I don't know. I didn't look at the numbers, but definitely next person has a gold shield. Check the numbers when you're healing and see. I guess we do that in firing range when we're not like in a fight.
Yeah.
Let's do Turd City.
Let's do it. The ship landing there? It fucking stopped. Landing on it?
Yeah, ship is landing there.
Oh, I can't make it. Oh, maybe I can make it.
Oh, it's gonna be close. I wasn't going.
We got
for
company.
I'll hit the top.
They're landing it.
Hop off on.
They're landing on ship. Company landing on ship.
I was late.
Yep. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm off. Oh shit, he's gonna chase me off. I know he is.
Got one of them.
You guys are
I
here.
jumped off though because I'm
down.
Hop
I'm
off.
down.
There's a purple shirt down here.
I can't hop off. Oh,
I was about to die, so I had to jump off.
On the box.
Where are they at? Up top?
Yep.
That's the very top of the
Shit, there's a fucking Revenant in here doing Revenant fucking shit. Fuck!
Oh, wait. Oh, you went? Oh. I didn't realize Zero was a fucking box. Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't know. I thought we were all on the ship. I didn't realize you were off it and Zero was a box.
Yeah, no, I said I jumped off because I was almost dead.
I thought with you. Yeah.
So I jumped off, and then in the second conversation about it, I said I was running away. I'm about to be dead.
Yeah, I heard when you went down. That's when I realized.
It's okay. It just makes the victories sweeter. That's all. Temperature's rising in here.
There's it.
Maybe we don't. Fine, whatever. Follow the leader.
The fuck's going on here? I thought there was like a ledge to land on. Jesus Christ. Got shields for days.
Oh yeah, I'll be down for that shit.
The shirt there is Zero. Are you muted or something, Zero?
I was, but I was just, I hadn't said anything though anyway until you said shirt there.
Well, then it works out.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm glad you said that though, because I would have probably responded and wondered why you weren't listening to me. Wait, where's the damn shirt? It disappeared off my screen.
On the first floor, if you go through there and down to the bottom.
Oh,
there's massives everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like every game, there's massives everywhere. It seems like.
'Cause they're the greatest.
Yeah, they're really trying to push that mastiff agenda.
Yeah.
You trying to turn us on to mastiff lovers?
It's working.
Fuck is that shit?
I mean, I'm a fan. I got a prowl. I need a bag.
They'll probably like make a mastiff only game
mode. Bag.
It's part of the mastiff world order.
Fucking massive world order. That shit bullshit. I hate it.
Another treasure chest.
Can't find them when you need them. Find them when you don't need them.
Can't punch them in the face when you find them. Can't face punch them in the face when you find them. I'm dropping an Eva with a double tap.
I 100% agree.
If anybody's into that weird shit.
Oh, what is? What'd you say?
Eva
A
with a double
scout?
tap.
Oh. They're okay sometimes. Not
Circly ass sight.
They're nothing compared to a Mastiff.
Yo! I could have sworn I heard that 2 to 4 ago. If one of you guys see a 2 to 4 that you don't need...
I took it.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
So
he doesn't use anything besides one action.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I always use 2 to 4s.
Oh, 0.
You know this, Zero. You know I only use 2 to 4s, bro.
Rims, you bastard.
Less than 1 minute. The ring is not far.
It's a full stack of light ammo.
Where did I put that son of a bitch?
Fuck yeah.
I got a Prowler. If we see a
need
select
it.
fire those, I could use those fire those of the select. Ship is landed in Mechanicsville, it looks like. Should we go do that shit?
Fuck yeah,
Okay.
bro. Fuck yeah.
Okay, bro.
Is that a real question?
I mean, I was just basically like,
fucking right, bro.
get your shit together. We're going to the ship. Get your ship together.
Get your ship together. Oh, look how distracted everybody is.
Oh, no.
Are they going up top? Are they not? I
don't know which one's happening.
What the fuck is real? What's not real? I don't even know. Did it land yet? No.
Another stack of light.
Oh, I was sure there would be a rope over here. What the fuck?
No,
There's
there's
only
a rope
one
over there.
Oh, the other one's over here. Oh, what? I swear when I was there I didn't see it. Maybe I left too early.
I dropped that Prowler for a flat lino.
Care package on high.
2 to 4, bro.
Optics here. Beat the ring.
Oh, hell yeah.
The med kit and syringes. Damn, that's not. That's crazy. Nothing I can fucking use on this ship.
Ooh, here.
A
I'm gonna
burn
drop a
stick.
flatline for this hemlock.
Oh yeah, 100%. You told me I had a
301 as
hemlock,
well,
I would
Greg.
have quickly given you. Yeah, I got a 301. Joe pinged one for me, a little wow in the distant past.
Somebody just was respawned.
Yeah, I heard that shit.
Slum Lakes,
You
I
guys
think.
think it's acceptable? If you do, you can look
I mean,
into
I
it.
don't think it is.
Oh shit, this is Slum Lakes
Yeah.
right here already. Yeah, it was definitely in this direction, but the respawn's all the way up there by the balloon,
Yeah.
right?
I think so. Yeah, I can't
I
even...
see somebody.
Okay.
They're right there. Can't see them anymore, but in that general direction.
Maybe they came in this house.
Oh, not everything was looted here yet.
Ooh, purple stuff.
Shield cell here. R99 here. Helmet here. Syringe level 2.
Standard stock here. Level 2.
Blue Shizert.
Thermite grenade here.
Blue heavy mag.
Definitely use that shit.
Oh, storm's coming in.
I could use that.
That'd make my hemlock super cool. Oh no, I can't use it. 0 if you.
Are you going to drop a white
No,
stock
apparently I
for the
already
blue
have one. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blue stock?
No, a blue. No, it's a clip. And there's a white stock there.
Well, do you want the...
It's all you. Take it.
Oh, okay.
I thought I needed it. I didn't realize I have a blue clip.
Where's this balloon?
Oh, people
shit
were
at?
running around here in the
Damn,
center.
they maybe they ran here just to get away, 'cause there's like nothing really looted here. There's a balloon we can
Yeah.
take though. That'll help. Yeah, this is definitely respawn. Definitely all.
I saw
filed
footsteps
and
running around the center, like the bridge area. They were like 80 seconds
Is that a
ago.
person? Yeah.
Do you want to push them
There's a
there?
person there.
Okay.
You want to go
Yeah.
there? Fuck yeah.
Can we get ahead of them? I'm 3 seconds behind. I'm with you now. Oh, fuck. God damn it.
Oh, this shit, I didn't see that person there.
No!
The storm's coming.
Oh, motherfucker. Oh, god damn it.
Oh, they're running away. Maybe that's good.
Okay.
No, they're coming back. This right here. He's climbing up.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not there yet.
Behind us.
Oh my god.
Heal yourself.
I can't.
Get healed.
Fuck. I'm trying.
Just
Oh shit, hurry up. Oh, I couldn't do it.
I can't see because it says round
she
2.
down?
No, she's not.
No.
over.
Can you crawl off, Zero?
Yes.
I got syringes if you need them, Grim. Zero, grab that.
got
You
it.
got syringes? Okay.
Yeah.
Which way do you want to go? Do you still want to go that way? Or you
I
wanna
don't
go the
care.
other way?
Let's just pick a direction to go.
The other way is probably
Okay.
safer. Yeah, I say go this way.
Okay.
I have one syringe.
Here, I got
and,
a couple.
med
Okay,
kit,
you got a
so
med
I'll
kit.
be
Alright.
alright. I'll be alright. That Loba might have went there.
Super
though.
stressful.
Straight zip line.
Wait, how do I know that I'm not? I find it pretty funny. Well, I didn't think we'd make
No
out of that.
hostiles in front of us, as far as my All-Father can see.
Ooh. You really trust the All-Father, Brad? He's a liar.
I mean, I understand that God's not real and religion's a lie. But the All-Father doesn't. Oh yeah, footsteps, they went this way at least a minute ago. I didn't see the time though.
Another flatline here.
You can have that flatline if you want, Zero. I got the hemlock is working.
Nah,
I got
I'm good
one.
on stuff myself. I could use some health heals if anybody. I have one med kit. One
Yeah, I got
syringe,
4 syringes. I can drop some.
which isn't terrible. But if somebody has a shitload,
Oh,
and did a heavy mag and some treasure. There's treasure. We want some treasure. Copycat.
Oh, I didn't need that heavy mag. I've already got one.
here you go,
But
Grab.
you guys do too, I guess.
Alright, we're in the circle, which is cool.
Hey, footsteps. They went over here 70 seconds ago. I see
hear 'em
the
or see 'em?
footsteps 70 seconds ago.
Ah, okay. I'm checking this building. Maybe I found a cool shirt. I feel like we've been like everywhere. Oh shit, yeah. On him anyway, man.
Hello, cool shirt. Any cool shirts around?
Damn, yeah, this circle's pretty small and there's 9 other fucking squads. Guarantee they're all hiding like bitches. Everybody has troubles? There's 2 grenades up
I
here.
got 2.
Come lay down.
Yeah, I could use a.
Yeah, so I got 2 Bernies. But yeah, grab those
I've got a single
grenades.
frag. I'll take those. Yeah.
Especially when you have those fragates hiding at the top of the artillery. You gotta frag
We
them
gotta
up.
frag them.
Fragadelic.
I don't appreciate your homophobic jokes.
I'm not homophobic. I'm talking about frag grenades, obviously.
Obviously.
Duh.
Those frag grenades that like to get another frag grenade's pin and put it in their safety slot.
See? That's the shit I'm talking about. 2 hostiles and gas traps. Up the hill.
So
yeah.
Over in there.
The hostiles are they're running away.
Let's peek. Find out where they are first.
They were further away than the
yeah,
gas traps.
I'm looking right there and don't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were gas traps. 8 seconds and I can do it again. Alright, ready? Oh, I'm gonna go up to the next level and pop it again.
Optics here.
3 hostiles.
Oh shit!
Oh,
okay, yeah. Yeah, do you see where they're at there? Yeah.
Oh, they're all in there. This is where the throwables coming.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
I can see them through the window looking at me.
Okay, I'm gonna jump down and.
Oh, you thought you.
I'm gonna pop the door and start chunking frags.
I'm gonna try to get. I'm gonna get on the roof.
Oh,
so
they've got
through the window.
They've got a gas trap at this door. Ooh, they're hurting. They're hurting.
Yeah, they're burning like a motherfucker in there.
Oh, outside.
She turned right into a box.
Where else?
Yeah, she might have been from another squad.
I was
right here.
From up top. Got your back,
Man, oh, there's another one. How come I didn't see him with my special going? Yeah, but I still should have seen him with my Allfather.
I don't know where the fuck he is, man.
He kept running out this door. He's hurt.
Nice.
Yeah.
What the hell, bro?
Yeah, I should have seen him with my Allfather.
Oh, you're on the Allfather?
Yeah.
You still couldn't see him?
I get him.
I got you, friend.
Yeah. I need heavy like a motherfucker.
There's
somebody's flying in.
Somebody's flying in. I'm Phoenixing. Joe, you need shields.
They're on the roof.
All right.
All right, I gotta reload.
Oh, one's over here.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, God.
How can some of that be a headshot and she's fucking fine? Are you kidding me?
What the fuck? All Davis died in that? Oh my god.
God damn it, man.
Oh, he pulled out a fucking wingman on me up close. Damn. If only they would have not came in on us, we could have got some loot. No throwables. I don't think any of us were healed all the way.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, me too.
complicated. What did I just say?
Ready and excited.
Introducing your champion.
I'm speechless. I mean, actually, I wrote a speech. Yeah, forget it. Let's just fight.
Oh yeah. You guys both back?
Yep.
Joe.
Sometimes you lose, sometimes you're me.
Joe. Joe.
I want your heart.
I guess that's a no.
Slice it up for a snack.
Chip's far enough away. You can do that.
I hope I didn't scare you.
Yeah.
Surprise! I hope I didn't scare you.
Looks like it's landing right there
The
too.
leader, that's me. We're done. Whatever. As long as we
Wake
win.
up, Joe. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up, Joe. Wake up.
I'm back. I heated up a little bit of din-dins for a little bit of 1 a.m. snack.
Alright, we're laying on the
Yeah.
ship. You ready?
Yeah.
Shit, I got 2 dudes on the bow with me.
Damn, I got nothing.
I'm dead.
Escape?
There's 2 dudes
Yeah,
coming
there's
in on
people
you.
in there with guns.
Yeah.
Look for a
Yeah, oh, I fell in those. God damn it.
All I got was
went
a
over the
fucking
side.
burning stick. Oh,
I'm
cool.
being punched to death.
Yeah, that's the sound of me dying. That was cool. I liked it. It was sweet. Sweet instant death. I like it a lot. Did you get a gun, Zero?
When I was already fucked up.
I got a scout, but there was a caustic with an automatic, I think a Havoc it was, and then a Mirage standing in front of me punching me. So I was able to shoot the Mirage, but I was getting lit up from the caustic and punched from the Mirage. So
Where'd you
I
land?
landed on the spot I.
Was that underneath?
No, that was on the spot that I normally land.
Were you normally land
Yeah.
on the side?
I grabbed that and I was running over to where I thought Zero was. Maybe I was wrong, but I was going like underneath and around to the side, and they met me underneath and put their D in my M and told me to like it.
You know, I just noticed. I don't know if this is new or I just never noticed before. It says for the fortified perk, you know, for Gibraltar and caustic. Damn it! Not only the damage, but bullets don't slow them down when you get shot.
Yeah, I don't know. Giving that up.
I'll break your heart, and then I'll break everything else. I'll break your heart.
Prepare for certain death. We should conduct a search right here.
Well, and it's first building. Maybe we should pick a building. That kind of works out good.
I'll land back here. And
The middle, I guess.
somebody landed here, but they ran away. It seems like.
Oh shit, I thought it was one of you guys.
There's a shirt in here if you need it.
Oh, where you going, Wraith? Be my friend, please. Alright, she's running to fly away. I can't catch her.
Oh, on the roof! On the roof!
Oh my god.
Oh, there's somebody in that building back there, too.
Yeah, I got a T-2020. I'm almost dead.
It's all you and your P-2020.
Yeah, you know, I told you that before. Sometimes I'd fight somebody and my controller would just turn off and like spin in circles. That's what just happened. My batteries are like almost full.
Oh, there were 3 more. There were fucking. There's another squad. Another goddamn squad.
And your batteries are full, you said?
They're like 80% when I hit the Xbox button.
It definitely sounds like you got some controller issues.
But it only ever happened 3 times so far, and it's always as soon as I start to fight somebody.
But then you also have your sound cutting out and stuff too. So.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice in the heat of battle.
Yeah, the only times that's happened before is as soon as I'm about to fight somebody. It's just suspicious. What's today? Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday? Today's Wednesday, right? Supposed to get something in the mail today. It didn't come.
Yeah, I was supposed to get my Switch today. Didn't come. Truck was on my street.
You were supposed to get that like a couple days ago. Too. Oh, that's what the story you were telling us about the Switch.
And I was supposed to get my check on Friday, didn't come. I gotta call my boss tomorrow.
This is the best part. Let's check it over there.
Oh, you didn't call him yet?
I figured. There's no other. I don't want to call him and then like have it show up. But I figured it's been long enough now.
Yeah, if it didn't automatically go through, you think it would be set up like in the computer. Just do it again. So they might have cut it. They might not have cut COVID with the last.
Nah, they would have said something.
Companies like it's.
They would just.
Maybe corporate did it. So no.
Yeah, nah. Corporate's been like talking to. Almost every week they send like a thing out. And like communicate with us.
Oh yeah.
Can you not have it direct deposit?
I can, but I'd have to figure out the steps to go through. Like all I had to do was like hand in a paperwork.
I think we're
when I was working. Now that I'm not working, I gotta like figure out what the steps are to do
Ping
that.
the blue shirt. Oh, this motherfucker running towards over there.
I don't see the blue.
I picked it up.
Okay,
I
well,
dibsed
I'm
it.
I've seen it.
I dibsed it. Picked it up.
Okay.
I was letting you know because no one seems to be getting it, so I just want to make sure somebody got it.
Yep.
We're coming towards you. We're not there yet.
They're up here.
And I'm hearing doors.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Yep.
is that where they are?
Yep.
You see them?
Revenant just threw a grenade and his ultimate at me.
Alright, I'm doing creep walk up to him.
Nice.
Oh yeah, you're a cool guy, Revenant.
I just uppercut them
Got
and
rolled
uppercut
on,
them
dude.
into. Oh shit! I couldn't
Spawn,
get out.
spawn.
What the fuck? I think my controller buttons are starting to get fucked up. Broke her shield. Oh shit! There's somebody else here.
Did that shit again.
Oh, I can't tell what the fuck's going on.
Damn.
Those decoys. Goddamn,
Yeah.
they're confusing. Even to me. I mean, normally it would be fine, but because it was in a room, she was like running around in between 5 people,
Somebody
and
controls.
I just started.
Related.
So I started blasting.
Yeah, that was an enemy mirage.
That's after
They were there decoys.
after we killed that Revenant, the person was on the steps. As soon as I started shooting on him, like shit just got all fucking retarded, disconnected until I was dead. from the Mirage.
Yeah, I think
but-
you need a controller.
So yeah, I guess the controller. That only happened twice before, but it happened twice, like weeks apart. Now it's 2 times in one night, and that's what I had been suspecting was the audio culprit. So to go to GameStop.
I don't know if GameStops are open.
I don't know. I know they were fight and stay open. They even sent a letter, like an email, to show this to the cops to try to shut you down because we are.
Yeah, but then they did wind up shutting down, and I don't think. Yeah, I heard someone was talking about it on the
internet
on YouTube. So I also don't know how true that is, but I've looked into when I was looking to buy the Switch, and like I couldn't reach one.
No, you tried calling, they wouldn't answer. Yeah,
Did you order it
I looked them up on Google Maps. There's an X next to in-store shopping, so I guess.
My Switch I bought off Macari.
Oh, what the fuck is my? Oh, that thing you were talking
it's like
about.
An offer-up app.
eBay S buy now. Yeah.
Harder, faster, stronger.
So, this GameStop is proud to introduce delivery at door. For the safety of your employees, our stores will convert to contactless delivery at door service, and will continue to offer our traditional online ordering service as well. So I guess maybe now that like the people that work there will just drive shit to your house and drop it off, and I guess you have to pay them like a pizza place.
Oh, I thought it meant like store to store, but.
Oh, contactless delivery.
Yeah.
That shit that
delivery means delivery. Yeah.
I'm kind of late, but I get.
Butt fucking going in the back hole. Butt fucking.
Well, fuck it. Yeah, I guess we all have to go in the back hole.
Hey, I'm not down for the sharing hole shit.
Root beer style. Oh no.
R99 here. She's fast like me. I'll take that. Back here. Let's go over here.
Yep.
Body shields here. Level 1.
I got me a 9.9.
Backpack here. Level 1.
Alternator in here.
First blood, and it's not us. Wonderful.
Faster.
That's some champion, huh? Barrel stabilizer here.
What? I dropped the barrel stabilizer over here. It landed like behind the bag of trash. I was trying to ping it, but it was all hard, and it just like instantly floated to the top of the trash. Like I watched it rise up through it like pretty quickly. It was just weird looking.
The cream will rise to the top.
The cream of the crop rise to the top. I never eat a pig.
That's what Macho Man says.
Oh yeah. What does he say?
The cream will rise to the top. I can't really do the Macho Man voice, but
yeah, we used to have nuns.
Miss Chadwick used to say
remember,
all the time.
Sister Judith and Sister Anthony say, "You guys are." Sister Judith would say, "You guys are the cream of the crop." And then we'd make fun, be like, "Oh, she said we're the cream of the cock." We were very mature when we were in 4th grade.
Alright.
Ahead of our time.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though.
One might say.
Yeah.
That's not a loot that though, so I'm gonna go. Ooh, a hemlock? I'll take it if you don't want a grim.
No, I'm good. I got a Spitfire. Fuck with this shit. There's a circle
I
sight.
got 2 circle sights. I currently have a wingman.
Ooh, do you have a 2X?
No, but I will absolutely put it on that shit though. Another 9.9 over here.
Take that shit. I dropped a blue stabilizer.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2.
Go for it, Joe.
Sure.
Close proximity. Less than 1 minute.
I hear a ludic.
Using grapple.
I got it. You can climb faster than you can grapple.
Damn it.
You can't even use it for another 34 seconds.
Yeah, that's a bitch. That
Yeah, that's a major nerve. That's like.
they're like.
Did you loot that
well,
whole
I
area
didn't
over
loot
there?
the very top.
Did the
Yeah.
bottom?
I didn't do across the street, but I did like the bottom.
You sure? Like a closed bin. Oh, so you just did the one set
Yeah.
on that side right there? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody need a 99?
Nah, they're everywhere.
They've been kind of sparse. Is that the word? They've been sparse this game.
Yeah.
4 syringes. Oh, sneaky.
Sticky fingers.
Yeah. And you said you're gonna do the top, yeah.
That shit over there has been looted. I went up there for a sec. I didn't go all through it, but there were open doors and shit.
Yeah, jump in the middle. You said you're gonna do the top.
Oh, I might hear enemies, guys.
I'm below you.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe that's just Joe.
I think you're making it
Think
up,
he does.
bro, honestly. I mean, there's some heavy here. Syringes, yeah, not really here, but bullets.
There's
You guys want to go up to
heavy
the
up
tippy
there
top?
still.
Oh wait, is that where we came from?
Wait, what's
we
the
came from
tippy
the market.
top? Where I am?
This shit.
Oh, the crane.
The storm's coming in. Oh, we have to go this way anyway.
There's still heavy up here, Grim. Here's some.
Yeah, I'm good on it. That's
Yeah,
all
no, I was
trying to
asking
get.
if you
Oh,
left
actually,
it up
shit.
here.
I
Oh, there's
didn't
shit
realize
close by.
I had.
Shit
I
popping
already
off close
left it.
by.
I
Yeah,
have 2
yeah.
stacks. I'm okay for
I
now.
was asking if you left it. You said there was heavy, and I was asking like it's still up here, and you're like, "No, I'm good
Oh.
on it."
Oh,
And
I
then
thought
I'm
you were
clarifying, and you're like,
because what you said, I thought was you left it. You left heavy ammo up here. That's why I was like, I thought you were saying like, why would you leave heavy ammo up here, man?
There's like
No.
2
That's
Phoenix
what-
kits over here.
That's how I took it. I was like, yeah, I didn't
"Yeah."
need it.
No. I was like, "You left heavy ammo up here." Yeah, no, I'm good on it. Okay, yeah, but it's still up here.
I would never leave.
And you're like,
heavy
yeah,
ammo.
no,
That
no,
was-
yeah, I left it up there. I'm good. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have plenty of it. I don't know.
How many times did I tell you I left it up there?
God
Chris?
damn, bro. Oh, Mastiff, I'm dropping this 9.9 with a blue clip.
Is there a prowler rounds with flex fire? Cool.
I haven't
Actually,
seen
I have
one.
so much light. I should probably run the 99.
Also a 301 in here if you. Well, no, wait a minute. I don't know where it's at.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
somewhere.
gonna do the heavy.
Damn, never mind. I don't know.
I really enjoy the hemlock, so.
Yeah, I like pretty well too.
That's 2 stacks.
Storm's like really fucking coming.
Is there anything left in this area? I didn't even touch it.
I'll throw us his.
Fucking prowler. If you're by that slack
I got it.
tell me to
Oh,
pick
wait.
It up. I finally found fucking prowler. You got it? Okay, cool.
Oh god. Oh god.
Oh,
Get the
no.
fuck up from over there.
Giving my shields a recharge. I am repairing myself.
Ping them or ping the area.
I'm coming. You want to just drop this slack fire
they were
and pick
there,
it
but-
so I can grab it? So
I didn't pick
I
up.
did. I picked it up.
I'm a main now. You want to just roll out? You want to just take
Yo,
a zip
I'll
and
throw
roll out?
this zip. Yeah, yeah. But they were over there. They probably rolled out themselves. I don't know. We'll probably meet them up here though.
Probably little bitches.
Yeah, there they are. I got one down. Rain hell on him.
Yeah, you like that shit, bitch? Yeah, you better run away, Hope. You coming?
Yeah. Oh, they're getting him up. They're getting him up.
Oh, they're getting somebody up right here. Got these two. Where's the last
Back here.
Loba bitch?
In the cave where Joe's running.
She's shielding up. What the? Oh man, this master's not.
Got her. Oh, and the storm just stopped here too. That was fucking perfect. Perfect timing. Oh my god. There's mad shield batteries in here, bro. Like, you want shield batteries? You got shield batteries.
There's a U-Sot in that one in the cave.
I'm all U'd up. I need the Bernie up though. I only got one of them motherfuckers.
Dude, we blitzkrieged those fucking kids. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, that's what they get for shooting this one and running away. Fucking chumps. They get raped. Dropping a med kit.
Yeah, I got.
I'll take one more of any throwable. I don't think there's
Here,
any
I'll drop you.
Bernies,
I'll drop you, Bernie.
I'll take one more of something. Oh sweet. Fucking banging.
And I'll take.
Not like me them Bernies.
Fraggy grenados. Is there any heavy? I only have 80 heavy. Looks like it's enough.
Yeah, I haven't seen any heavy.
I'll give you
2
2 boxes.
Gracias.
There's a frag in here too. Yeah, I'll take that 7 arc star. Nah, you know what? I don't know. You know, keep our arc
Yeah, I
star.
need some kind of nades, I guess.
Yeah, it's in here.
I got a
Alright,
couple.
I've got a bunch of heals. Probably more heals than I need.
You got a minute. You wanna go this way and then move in?
Yeah, I'm ready to move.
Anybody want that?
Yeah, I've got
Nobody
good
wants a
heals too.
Phoenix kit?
I have one.
go
Oh
ahead.
shit! I blindly hit a bounce pad and scared me. All of a sudden I'm flying. I'm like, what the fuck? There's a grenade.
Holy moly, I'm in the air again. Why am I flying in the air?
There's an arc star, another grenade.
30 seconds until the ring closes. You like cutting it close, huh? I dig that.
Yeah, I'll trade a frag for an arc star.
It was just a blue light. I thought there was like something blue shining. I can
Blue
use
heavy
that if you
mag.
don't want to do.
I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one. Thanks.
Yeah, I can do that.
10 seconds.
Coming for that Mago.
Bago of Mago. Damn, 5 squads left? Oh, bunker and slums included, but they're about to be shut out. You want to wait for them to fuck
Your
each other up
decoy's in
little
a
bit?
room just
chill
running
over
into a wall.
Yeah, I saw that. He was stuck in there. I tried to run him out. It
Poor
didn't work.
decoy.
That's you, right? Okay, so it's you, it's the buddy.
That's me too.
Okay.
I got my own transportation. Thank you very much. See anybody running in?
I didn't see anybody when I
So we
was
can
looking. I'm
fall off
kinda...
the back here if we need to. I don't know if we can climb up that shit, but we could heal back there. Oh,
Yeah,
you
okay.
can run all the way to the back of this from on the ground and run around that if you get stuck down there. And there's people shooting through this hole,
okay.
just as like, in a hole down there, just as like a backup.
My
plan.
game care package just fell over
You
there.
see anybody?
And if somebody loots it and has a Kraber, they can hit
I don't
us.
see anybody run into that yet.
So we have to. If that's
Yeah,
light
that's
goes
true.
out, we need to.
This is a small circle. Oh, you know what? A lot of people probably have to run off. Oh, and T-Town is still in there. 4 other squads.
You guys want me to zip us over to this shit, this next one, and I don't
yeah,
know. I
can you
mean,
make it all the way over to
will hit
that?
us.
Somebody's being brought back and run off.
Yeah.
Yeah, saw that.
Okay.
I can give us a jump pad to get further. Okay.
Did you both fall off?
you guys made it.
Almost did. Well, we can just keep moving.
No,
Sorry, I want to grab this shield battery down here. That's all. I did it on purpose.
Oh, good, smart move, smart move.
Which way do you guys want to go?
Maybe up on those rocks. You do have bounce pad?
Yeah, I have bounce pad. Oh, now you guys.
You want to do it?
Now
to
you
get up
guys
on those
want to
rocks?
use my bounce pad.
Sending out my decoy.
Your decoy just.
What the
He
fuck?
destroyed
Where's your
it.
bounce pad?
You prick!
Oh my god. What the fuck?
What a dick.
Oh.
Oh man. How did he
I don't
fucking
know.
break it?
He hit
What
it.
the
He
fuck?
hit it like crouched
and then it disappeared
yeah, it went
with him.
super high.
Oh, we have 5
Well,
seconds.
I'm about 50% to a no one.
Well, that's. I
Watch out for
send
people
decoys on
running through
bounce
the
pads
desert
all the
here.
time. Yeah, I was surprised that didn't fucking work.
But I mean, now we know. I was thinking about like, how do we destroy? Because I set a bounce pad to like get up to where we were. So I was like, how do we destroy it? But now we know we can send your.
It's not my defect.
I was gonna throw my Bernie stick at it, but I'm like, that's a waste of a good Bernie stick.
Oh, these haven't got. You want to go all the way to the back where them fucking care packages are? Ooh, it sounds like that's where they're fighting. Yeah, they're in that town. I see the bullets.
I almost don't want to loot the care packages, though. I mean, unless you feel like
What if it gives us purple shields, though?
I mean, because it'll let them know where we're at. Oh shit!
Someone just did a
EMP
Loba.
went off close to it.
I think that might have been a Loba thing. That does the same thing.
Oh, yeah, hey, they're right
here. They're at the
right here.
care package.
On this.
Oh shit!
That's our stuff.
Where the fuck are they? He's going for like the balloon.
I was going to the next care package.
Where is it? Oh, alright, I'm coming on the backside.
Nice, he's down.
Somebody else sniped with us. So,
yeah,
getting hit from every direction. Can we escape somehow? Do you have a zip or a...
Yeah, I got a bounce pad.
We gotta run into the circle.
Oh, there's people here, people here.
I got one of them knocked. I hurt the other one, broke their shield. Yeah, kid. Oh, here, right here on the door. Yeah.
Come in, come in, come in, come in.
Oh, you're looking at him. I think somebody's on the roof, honestly. No, I don't see them.
I hear people.
Well, those other kids were chasing us, so.
Well, you know where they are now.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get out
Oh
of this.
my god, watch out. Oh, fuck.
Oh shit, somebody's shooting from behind. Fuck!
Yeah. Crawl over here, crawl over here.
Ah.
Shit, they're coming in the building here. Maybe they'll engage each other.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
We're in the middle of them. If we can get out somehow. Oh, they're fighting somebody over here.
Yeah, let's go.
Shooting in the back of the head or something.
Shit, where are we getting hit from behind at?
Probably the same squad that was shooting
Oh,
them.
God damn it! From the care packages and from where we were just at.
The remnants over here.
They just finished somebody.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
Alright,
yeah,
hold on. I just killed
you're
the
in a good spot, Grim.
Two other squads. Two other squads.
Okay, I'll jump off as soon as you.
We were good up here, I think.
Oh! In this building. In the lower floor here.
There's
Yeah,
no
just run to
thermal.
Grim. Just run to Grim.
Oh, they're in the back. Come over here, Zero.
Yeah, run to Grim. I mean,
getting you up? I don't see nothing. Get some cover if you can now. Alright,
yeah,
let's get involved in this last fucking fight.
Final fight?
Oh, he fucked me up. Oh shit. Somebody's got a red shield. I think it's a Revenant.
Frag out. Frag out. Healing. Easy staying too long.
Recharging shields.
I am down. I killed
Where are they? Where's the last motherfucker?
Where they at? Somewhere in this building.
There's somebody healing back here.
Somebody's up here.
Hey, don't worry, go hill.
Oh, yep, they see me.
charging shields.
You get out behind you, Grim. I think.
They're on the roof of this building.
Another down here with me.
Two others lost.
I broke her shield. Nice. Coming in that door, I think. Shit.
Oh,
excellent.
Nah, I still think there was 3 squads left.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was 3 squads left.
Jeez, that was insane. My control disconnected 2 times during that last fucking area fight. It was fucking me up, dude. And then it takes even after I get the controller back, it takes a couple more seconds for volume. Like, I feel like you would have had it. Oh my god. It probably doesn't help I dropped my controller the other day. It's probably all fucked up now. You know what, I'm gonna restart. Yeah, maybe I should restart my whole system just in case. I'll redo the controller too. I'll just do the controller for now. Fuck it.
Okay.
Be right back.
Man, I was definitely getting sweaty palms on that shit.
Yeah, that fucking shit was insane.
Your mic is staticky.
Something like that. That was a fun last fight. It was a little hectic. That invisible getting up in the middle of a fight thing was working good.
There was a Mirage doing that, and I could hear it, so I ran up, and I'm like, where is it? I see it. I'm like checking behind like the thing, the generator. I'm like, I don't see it. Where is it? And then all of a sudden, like, they start to like blink back into existence, like right after he gets up. So I'm just like, oh. But I was like, I ran through them and past them and around them, and like, I was like dancing around them as they're getting them up.
No. You know what? Now it's saying my batteries are lost. Maybe that's what it was the whole time. I just checked last time it crashed, and it was still like 2/3. Now it said to replace them. These are shitty ass batteries, dude. So. Ain't no copper top Duracells.
Yeah.
So I gotta swap them out. Let me do that real quick.
Where we want to go there, fella boys, the fellows ass bellows boys, cellos for the fellows, mellow ass fellows.
yourself. I deserve the credit.
Well, there's a pit.
Sure. I hope Grim's back in time. He should be. Yeah, he broke off, so he's back. His mic just needs a second to click on.
Yeah, he broke off. Tom broke off. Ah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, now in the same band. Shit.
Oh, no gun.
I hit him for 2 Mozambique shots.
No, God,
Oh,
no.
God damn. What the fuck are you shooting with?
I broke crypto shields.
Oh, well, he had an automatic.
There were 3 of them on you. Yeah, there were 3 guys attacking you too, I think. He beat me to the bend, but I snatched up a longbow and got 1 shot before he pooped on me with the 301 or whatever there.
No way, dude. This dude killed me with 3 shots from a fucking Mozambique.
Oh shit.
Every single one of them was just on point. He was like bang, bang, and then I go behind the box, like he pops out the other side, bang.
It's almost as annoying as getting punched to death.
What? I'd rather get punched to death than Mozambique to death with 1 clip. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a bitch to get. Yeah.
Each shot landed like pretty perfectly.
I gotta do damage with Bangalore's Rolling Thunder.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. I see blood across the pavement. On the bench with a stick on me like I just got a penalty. I am ready. I hope you are too.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm so ready for this. I am extremely ready for this. We ready?
Yep. Just in time for the time bowl. It's all about the time bowl. Y'all better not rump with me.
Better not.
I can tell from your shooting hand, you ain't no operator. Ever heard of a stock arrow stabilizer?
Oh no, I don't think we landed here yet tonight.
Come on, find you some.
There's a building over here. Maybe we'll go there.
Maybe this time I'll open both eyes. I can tell from your shooting hand, you ain't no operator. Looks like aiming isn't your strong suit.
I think there's a building hidden behind this shit too. I'm not sure. I don't have this map
Oh,
memorized
shit.
yet. Nope. Yeah, there is a little one. But there's a bigger
2
one on
people
the right.
were landing right here with me. Oh, I bounced off. Hopefully there's a gun and a shield in here.
Yeah, somebody's in my shit. Oh my god, come on. There's a shield in here.
Damn!
Back there.
Yeah, we're too separated for that.
I'm getting fucked up.
Yep.
Oh, you guys are both down? Oh.
Yeah, my bad. I should have said something. I thought my disappointed huffing and puffing would be enough.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it overall. Like
Zero
gunfire.
hasn't talked in like 2 years.
Oh shit, I've been muted. Fuck. I was given tactical information that would have turned the course of the battle.
Ah,
So it's clearly your fault we lost.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Well, you owe me
chicken sandwiches.
5,000 RPs.
Lost pleasure dollars.
You better post up with those RPs. I'm gonna break the kneecaps, Zero.
Hey man, I tried to like clue you into the cheapest way to get McNuggets. Don't even appreciate it.
All right, so I'll definitely count that as at least like 3 RPs. So I'll make sure you get some credit for it.
Wait a minute, now what does RP stand for again?
I
Rubies?
just looked it up. Whatever you get
Oh.
to level up your silver badge level.
Oh, okay.
It's I had to look to see what it was actually called. I just make up names for stuff. Gold shit. Red shit.
Yeah, I don't know what. I'd like to know what RP stands for.
Rank points, probably.
Real points.
Oh, rank.
Oh, rank points.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense.
Real points.
Seems obvious now. Now you think about it. I'm not trying to convince you that they're not fake points.
Ray Charles in the ring, you ain't got no hits.
Yo, I saw a video that's saying Ray Charles isn't blind and showing like proof and stuff. And the last thing was like the most convincing one. It's like one of those charity things like Live 8 or something like that. And he's there with his sunglasses on, and somebody, like Paul McCartney or something, knocks over a microphone stand, and it's heading towards him, and he picks up his arm and catches it. It's just like, if you're blind, I didn't know that was even followed.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Somebody's collecting a check.
Yeah. How crazy would that be if we just pretend to be blind for all these years, just get sympathy and...
Oh shit. You like walk into the office where you try to get disability with like a fucking cane and shit. Like tapping your way
yeah.
to the
That's
desk.
pretty much Ray Charles.
Like when you're a block down the street, you just
Oh
put
shit,
up
somebody's on me. 2 people are on me, 3 people. Oh my god, it's a full fucking squad.
Yeah, there's so many motherfuckers. Oh,
I don't have a gun.
Oh god damn, I'm down to
where
it.
the fuck he was.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I can't get a gun.
Who picked this spot? You got...
That little hole?
Fuck!
You know the hole, Joe, on the left? It's like a little platform that leads out.
No!
4
God damn!
other people tried to go in the same hole.
Quadruple penetration.
I actually bounced out.
I went through multiple
Quintuple.
buildings.
I was
yeah.
Wow. Make some money off
I
that.
did get a flat line. Then I went in the door and was getting shot. I thought he was above me, but then he was like behind me somehow. Oh, it's my jam. Fuck it, it was something to do. Spend it on girls and shoes.
No cluster foxtrots in my unit. What's wrong this?
Not a single cluster foxtrot.
The ring isn't really complex, but it can be a little complicated.
I single
Not a
what?
single cluster foxtrot.
Yeah.
So like I feel like that on like a t-shirt would be something Apex players would buy. Like, what a cluster foxtrot. Or like to do like Mirage.
Oh, Apex gear probably moves.
Yeah.
Dude. If you could, I mean, you get sued for making it if you get big enough.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it would fucking
Yeah,
sell.
you can't.
Bro.
I mean, selling any kind of fan art is
So many people are all about
is
Apex.
illegal.
You can
But
make it.
Redbubble has
Yeah.
contracts with, or has deals with some companies, and so you're allowed to sell like some fan art. Each thing is different, but so, I mean, you can sell some fan art on their site. But my idea is, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys. I mentioned before about like in universe stuff, like the lab Caustic worked at, or the company that Mirage's mom owns, or oh, you wanna throw punches? I got a shotgun, bitch.
Shit, come.
Oh, she threw her bracelet out the window and ran away.
Are they dead? Oh, okay. Who's getting attacked? Anybody?
Okay, yeah.
I am. I've been getting attacked since I dropped. There's a lobe around there. Keeps popping up and
right here. Right here. She just
jumped
watching
my back. Let me shield up. I got some shield though.
I hit one of them for 70. Oh, one of them went down. Okay, there's one. She's jumping, trying to jump the wall.
I executed somebody's kill for them because I'm a nice guy.
Oh, you didn't make a bracelet shit that time, did you, kid? Oh, now there's a remnant.
Yeah, he's right in there.
Damn, there's 50 squads here.
Yeah, let's go in the back.
Oh, somebody just jumped over the railing.
Run down another.
To their death.
There's more last.
Yeah, I only have 3 shotgun bullets left.
I'm down like 3 people.
There's a hemlock in here.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that.
Oh shit! Over here! Come on, badass! Come on, Billy, badass! On the roof! Come on, you pussy!
She's running. Oh, she's teleported.
Can't tell us all my decoys.
Other side of this building.
Oh, somebody else over there. That's where she is.
God damn it!
She just jumped to her death.
Just go shield. It's almost done.
No, okay, there's one on the roof. There's 2 on the roof up here.
Yeah, I'm hearing somebody healing up and shit.
Die, motherfucker! Die!
Are they all dead? Yeah.
I'm executing the Mirage.
Oh, I didn't even get to shoot this dude. God damn it.
He's dead.
Yeah! Woo!
Where you at, Grim?
Got a murder boner.
I got him. Okay.
I couldn't. I didn't know.
Hey, somebody take that Phoenix kit.
I kept jumping up and.
If you're gonna drop that Mastiff, Grim, I'll take it.
I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I like using it.
Alright, well in that case
a
here,
little bit of the old
8
ultra violence there.
That's all I was using the whole
8 shotgun bullets. And there's 16 shotgun bullets there.
Wait, how many boxes are up top there?
3.
That's right. I didn't get to loot any of that. Yeah.
Oh, there's a 301 in here also.
Ooh, good shit. Yeah, I just found one. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the Mastiff. I found a flat
shit.
line.
Alright, I gotta find those.
I'm gonna drop my. There's some bullets in there, and I dropped my 3 bullets next to it.
Okay.
Dude, that was such a fucking rush, that battle.
Alright, I'm gonna be dropping my.
Oh yeah, I'm so hard.
My 301.
If you have a light mag or something.
No, Shit, where is this Mastiff at?
Oh shit! It's on the roof.
Yeah, people. I watched 2 people jump to their death.
Yay! There's nothing in there. No, I guess it's already looted. Whatever this shit is.
You didn't dibs that plot stabilizer, did you?
No, I dropped the stabilizer.
Nah.
And Grim is continuing to run away.
Because I snatched it up.
Oh shit! There's a box up here.
Good thing I'm paying attention.
151 light arrows.
Oh. We killed so many people, I lost track.
Taking a shotgun thing.
Standard stock body shield here. Level 2.
Yeah, I cannot believe that 2 people tried to run away, hopped over different parts of the railing, and right to their death. Oh shit!
And died.
More dudes to kill.
Where at?
Up there.
I'm dropping my ultimate because I gotta get damage with it, so I'm just hopefully I'll hit them.
Oh, getting sniped from far back.
Yeah, there might be 2
mine.
squads. There might be 2 squads. They're over on this building.
Did no damage with it. That's cool.
One of them's running away. It's all smoky. Oh, that roof. Hit him for 57.
But I don't see him up there.
Yeah, he backed back. He backed down.
They might be inside. Yeah, they're inside. They're underneath here.
Okay.
Right here.
Alright,
Damn.
Alright, I'm going inside.
I got her. Oh no!
On the roof
again.
Yep.
I got a shield up.
Oh, he's almost dead. I had no clip. My clip just didn't do it. He's right here shielding up. Big shield. Oh, come on. There it is.
Hell yeah.
I will take it, sir.
You are wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, 2x.
Medkit here. They help, to say the least.
Syringe here.
I need heavy.
Storm's closed on already.
Heal up.
It's just round
But
one.
get your health heals together.
Yeah, there's
Alright,
meds
is there
in
a
here.
light mag anywhere? Or?
No.
I got 2 heavy mags. I just.
I
That's
think
a
I
level
have
2
a
and
white
level 1.
one of them. Oh, level 2. Fuck yeah.
I got a blue stabilizer. Anybody? There's 120 light bullets. Anybody need light bullets?
I'm gonna throw a zip. Oh, this shit's unlooted right here.
I don't really have time. We gotta be fast as fuck. Oh, well, it's the first
Oh,
one.
there's nothing worth a damn there.
Not too
Or
bad.
not in that bin.
Phoenix? Yeah, I'll take that shit.
99 U-site.
And 2 heavies. Here, I'll pick up
And
the
there's
heavy
some bullets in there next to it.
I really need heavy ammo. I only have 7.
Yeah, I have 80.
Oh, you sight?
Both of you take a box. Here you go. Oh shit, that's all 40. Hold on, I'll drop it separate.
Anybody have lots of heals?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have 2 syringes left after I heal.
Zero, you good on heals? I can drop some more.
Yeah, I'm good. I got 3 syringes and a med kit and 2 cells.
Alright.
Go. Thank you.
There's another med kit for you guys.
I got a med kit. Go ahead. Okay, Grim, do you need another med kit?
I'm good.
Okay.
Phoenix kit.
I'll take the blue shotgun bolt. No, you can have it. I got med kits still.
Oh, well, I took
I
the
got med
cells.
kits. Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. We
I
can
also got
divvy
room
it
to
up if we
carry it
need
if.
to.
Okay, you want to go right?
Whatever.
Right or left? Oh, well, this
Sure.
just hits these ends
Does
at
anybody?
least, right?
Nobody needs a blue stabilizer, right? I will drop it if nobody needs it.
Nobody
Blue
what?
stabilizer. You already said you don't know.
I'll take it if you don't want it.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I got a white one. Thank you.
Light ammo here.
There's a bird with a blue box.
Rings close. 1 more minute.
2.
Bam! There goes a booze old dirt. Something like that.
Rings next door. 45.
Blue heavy mag.
Extended heavy mag.
Flatline.
5 other squads.
Nothing really in there. Whose box was that? Hooch's box. Who the fuck is Hooch? Is that one of your friends?
It's Turner's
One of your
partner.
friends, Zero?
I don't think so.
Because you're the one that actually got the killing or the dropping shot on it.
Oh yeah, so you know, I've had some people that I played with like on games
This
I
is
haven't
your
played in a long
box.
time, and sometimes they change their names.
Extended life. Extended
Yeah, it is.
light ammo. Not
Yeah.
much.
Dead.
Level
This is the 0 hours box.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
Oh shit. We gotta roll. We gotta roll.
It's on. Ring's moving.
Oh, you saw that?
Someone just did something right.
Yeah,
there
I think
it
that's
is,
the
right?
Lova
Yeah.
special.
There's boxes over there.
Yeah, it's the Loba ultimate. They're right out front of market. I'm throwing my ultimate.
Oh, you're going there? Oh,
We don't
shit.
have to. I just threw my ultimate.
Oh, they're out
Yeah.
front of bunker. Out front of bunker.
That's what I said.
Oh, said market.
Maybe I did say market, but I definitely meant bunker. I absolutely did not mean market.
Oh, at the door, in the doorway.
Oh shit, this is
Oh,
round
God.
2.
Oh god.
Yeah.
You wanna move
we're-
in?
we're okay,
gonna
we're
get
okay.
Get the
fucked up. Yeah,
save.
yeah. Damn, there goes all my fucking shit.
Damn, she was winning over a fucking P2020.
Oh, and I got fucking one.
It's one left, 0.
Ah, motherfuckers. Ah, ah.
Yo, she like missed me with. What? Let's see what she used.
She was a total bitch. Just say it. She was a bitch.
Alright, so a scout, she missed me a bunch of times with a scout. Then she put out P2020 and lit me the fuck up, did 144 damage and 6 shots immediately. I've never met somebody so good with a P2020.
Whoa, and 6 shots. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, so
Boom.
She might have
headshot,
had the
boom,
hammer
headshot.
she might have, but like
Oh yeah,
she
my
hit
bad,
me like
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
6 out of 6 out of like 8 shots. What up, Ozzy? What's going on, buddy? So it was like she missed and missed and missed. Switch guns like, bah, 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 and I was dead.
If that last
Yeah,
motherfucker
she
had-
definitely was like a ba 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 da
Oh, it wasn't the last guy that was at your
bum 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 ba dum bum 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 bum.
I got like one more in me.
Alright, well, I'm gonna make you wait for it. Ooh, I got a gold and a purple in this.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna go pee.
And it's an epic banner pose for Pathfinder.
Noise.
But it is a pretty sweet longbow skin if I use the longbow. It's like it's the McFly, so it's like the super retro themed one.
I like Marty.
Like I might have to
Am I ready though?
pick it up if I see it, just because it's cool. No, you're not ready though. So what's up, Ozzy? How's life? How's school? How you enjoying this quarantine shite? Everything good? You living life? Doing fun stuff while you're in school? Well, I guess nothing's really changed. You still gotta do school and stuff. Me, I'm just doing nothing. Being a bum, getting fat. I cleaned the garage a bit today. Cause that's so bad, like I'm embarrassed to like open the door, have the neighbors see it. So
Does everything still need to be? Is it all
Yeah.
that shit still in there? The recyclable shit and the
all of that trash, yep.
Pono, the like 1 metric
Yeah.
ton of pornos.
Yep. I threw out a couple boxes. Like I went through whatever 5 boxes or something, and nothing.
You still have the
Nothing
sticky
had
ones.
value. I didn't come across any sticky ones. Thank fucking God. But I went through like 5 boxes and checked. There wasn't all magazines. There were some books and stuff in there. Checked the value. Everything in there had no value, so I threw those out. And I decided that it's all just trash. So, but I.
Yeah.
Or were you inherit
Nah,
some
that's
stuff or
the
something?
pornos that we picked up before. We told you that story. It's all
No, it's the pornos we picked up.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's all trash. It's, but like it's more than like will fit in my trash can. So I couldn't even throw it all out in 1 week. So it has to go out like over the course of probably 4 weeks.
Oh, I vaguely remember you mentioned
Your neighbor's gonna be
something.
like, damn, every week he's starting out like 500.
Yeah, could you imagine if like the truck spills it and it blows all over the street? Oh shit, somebody's here with me.
That'd be sweet.
Coming.
They went
Oh, they
upstairs.
closed the door.
I don't have a gun.
In this middle.
Oh, there's somebody down here.
I'm gonna go upstairs.
I gotta get a gun. Yeah,
Got you, bitch.
yeah, we got people down here. Grimbos. Okay. Serial killer. I'm calling to Grim.
Okay.
Are you fucking kidding me? Where the fuck did that come from, bro? That's impossible.
What? Are you kidding me? Some Broker Shield did some more damage to her.
Oh, one behind
man.
me. Goddamn. Well, that one doesn't count.
Broker Shield, and I was out of bullets.
Oh, that was my own grenade. What? Yo, I gotta spin that back. That's.
Spin that shit back,
I was
DJ.
saying what? 'Cause it didn't make sense that she could. Yeah.
What are you, a cartoon mouse?
Yep.
I had to drink my way out of this wine glass. Now I have the hiccups. That cat'll never catch me.
The soda does the same thing. The drink it first.
Dr. Pepper gets me every time.
Oh, you drinking some vino?
Nah, just Coronas.
Bing. Bing.
Yeah, you know, I saw Corona on sale the other day, and I thought they shut down production or something.
What?
Maybe like they're American.
So
maybe they have them.
Some of the plants closed down because their demand has dropped
really?
a lot. Because obviously that's what's killing everybody. Coronavirus, Corona beer.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't buy the
Well, they
beer.
probably think like, oh, that's
Corona,
disrespectful to drink Corona beer when there's a coronavirus going on. I'm a dum-dum.
Ironically, it
that
kills
doesn't make
it if
sense
you,
like that. Yeah.
you only get it if you don't put the lime in the bottle. though.
Yeah, the lime
That's why I got it.
sanitizes it. Opie, what's up, bud? I've been looking for you all night. Where you been at all my life, bro? Take us to the promised
on there.
land.
Little riggy shit.
Okay, that is called the rig.
Dude, riggedy ass shit.
Riggedy rig rig.
Riggedy, bro.
Big rig.
Where do you want to go? You want to go all the way to the
Sure,
back? maybe?
whatever. Sure.
Let's
We're
go to the
barely
back.
There.
Sure.
The A-dub spot.
Let's get some root beer up in this bitch.
This is the A-dub ATM spot. The money spot.
Oh, I just like landed in like on the roof and then like got stuck not going anything.
Yeah, I don't even know where doors are over here.
Alright,
I'm
you're
just
in there. I'll just go this way.
The white shirt here, if you don't find one. Oh, hammer point goes in this. I guess it's keep it till I get another gizon.
Ooh, yeah, this is the center thing. I was gonna land in the center, but coming in, it like looked like it was just this like. Oh, somebody's zipping up to me.
Oh shit!
I
if you can
can't-
get
I
away,
can't
get
hit him from
away.
here. I'm coming. I'm close.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're coming.
I'm chasing him away. Oh no! What?
Oh, one zipped off, one zipping back.
I don't understand where they are. Alright, that dude's off.
Yeah.
There's another one that he zipped down.
Yeah, there was a caustic I was fucking up and he ran away and then that Gibraltar came.
Right.
Somebody's coming up. All 6 down.
That didn't work out good for you, did it, bitch?
There can be only one Mirage, motherfucker.
This may be 2 squads. Wasn't the other guy? No, he was a other dude.
Oh, crap.
Connecting.
I hear somebody else. You guys both need to heal.
Damn, I don't have a fucking bag. I was wondering why I couldn't pick anything up.
Backpack here.
Nice.
Just gotta patch myself up. Flatline here. G7 scout here.
Oh, here, I got.
Extended heavy mag here. Level 2.
Oh, never mind.
Ooh.
45 seconds and it's
That second guy didn't turn into a boss, did he? I think there's somebody still alive.
gotta hop up here.
Yeah, there was a. Well, no, the
How many
cluster
boxes
did
up
die.
here? 3?
Anybody need energy ammo?
Somebody's getting brought. Oh, it's pretty far over there.
I can either. If we can find a Mastiff, I would be mucho gracias happy for it.
Spitfire here.
Mastiff?
Yeah, yeah. Yiggity.
Damn, all those bins look looted. I don't know, man. Yeah, fuck, dude. They would loot everything, huh?
Yeah, I guess we'll just move on.
So somebody got brought back over in this area just a few seconds ago.
I think they wanted to die. This place was looted. I see one bin untouched.
Optics here. Mid-range.
So I think after 2 flaps it actually drops it. I don't want to wait too long, so I ended up with a pit over there, so I shot after 2 flaps. Or maybe...
New kill leader.
Oh, I think I see a med kit over here, actually. Oh, I only have 2 syringes. I can't fuck around.
Oh, 2X, I'll take the 2X.
Yeah.
Alright.
There's a
Yeah,
balloon
that
down
whole
here.
area is not looted. That sucks.
Yeah. I thought I saw a med kit from here, but if it wasn't, I'll fucking die in the storm.
Oh yeah,
Someone's
they're
right
going
here.
to balloon.
Sending out a decoy.
Shit.
I am taking fire, friends.
Yeah, they're...
Got one of them.
Enemy down.
Let the storm take him.
No,
Oh, wait,
no,
are we alive?
no.
Still on the ground?
Yeah, go. Yeah, I'm coming with
flying.
you. I just want to finish her off, just to see if she had anything in her box, that's all. Just as I suspected, she was...
Yep, somebody's low bin over here. God damn.
Yeah, they're down below us though. Just stay high. Just stay high. Oh, I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna make it.
Oh, I was gonna say, how do you not make it, bro? I said, how would you not even make it, bro?
Gotta hop up here.
Select fire, hop up.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Using grapple.
Somebody's over there. They just did that Loba shit.
Alright.
But I gotta fly in. We have pretty far to
Yeah,
still
yeah, let's go,
fucking
let's go.
Even after this next balloon.
There was somebody below us where we landed there, so we need to keep...
And I still only have 2 syringes, so I can't hang back like that. I'll fucking die.
You're not my real dad, and you never will be. Both years.
Yes, I am.
Just want you to do what's responsible.
Well, then I'm not gonna share any of the stuff I find with you guys, because you're just yelling at me.
Here, I'll throw us a zippity zip zip.
Yeah, I already started running over to the other zip that's already here.
Oh, I'm in the wrong direction. God damn it. I was looking at my
What are you
map.
talking
wrong.
about?
No, it wasn't. No, it
That's where
wasn't.
I'm going. What are you, drunk, Zero?
No.
I thought you were supposed to run away from the circle.
Why do I still have this lame gun?
Kim just texted me.
Got a Hump up here.
You might need a box
no,
of light.
I don't. Give me 1 second. I gotta go. Run. Oh, somebody shoot at me. Fuck. Never mind. Don't give me any seconds. I'm coming to use.
Yeah, over there.
What?
Broke the shield on that medic.
You should have hid somewhere, but this will work. Run, Grim.
She's back for more.
Oh, he's down again?
Trying to shield up.
Yeah, I was instantly down as soon as I got up.
There's only one left.
They're engaging somebody.
He's up. Oh, there's a whole squad in here.
Yeah, just fall back, fall back.
That may be a Mirage. I'm fucking them up with, well, I kind of fucked one of them up.
Well, you're by yourself,
yeah, Grim needs to heal. We're not ready for that.
Yeah, I'm outside the building harassing them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of loot in there if we want to push once you heal up, Grim.
Oh, there's one on the roof.
Right, I'm almost healed.
Yeah, poke your head back out.
Alright.
Zero, you're not even fully healed.
Oh, and there's a... Yeah, I don't have a syringe. Coming at you, Grim.
She's setting a portal. I'm trying to... No, she set a portal to here. She probably grabbed their teammate's thing.
Coming up the steps. Down here. They're running away, and they're getting shot by another squad.
Oh, he got that off.
Shit.
How am I missing these fucking shots?
Oh, good. Because I'm in a box. I'm gonna get a body shield. Health heals. Any big health heals? All I have is a syringe.
Yeah, here's a med kit. Here's a med kit.
Everything. Try to grab this grant.
Oh shit. I thought you grabbed that.
Seconds.
No, trying to.
We gotta move. We gotta move. Round 2 circle.
Damn, I still don't even fucking light clip at all.
Give me a couple minutes, Kim.
Three other squads.
Yup, shots come through here.
We're behind you, Grim. We're 50, 100 feet back.
Yeah, they're from far away. They're just popping through here.
Alright. Alright, we're with you. Shit.
What? How the fuck did that?
I got one of them.
I broke the shield on the medic and she's burning.
Oh, I'm being shot from somewhere else.
Like a Loba thing goes somewhere. Yeah, the other squad they were shooting. But then they turn around and start shooting us instead. Oh, bitch is in here with me.
Fuck. Shit. I'm trying to recharge my shit,
man.
Oh God. Are they fighting each other?
They're shooting everybody they see, including us.
You can escape. Oh, I'm on box. Good night.
I'm over here by Grimm's box.
Shit. They're on that other roof. Oh my God, they're everywhere. Oh, bitch.
Fuck.
Got one of them down.
That was so
anyway.
stressful. Alright, I will be right back.
Alright.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Find comfort in the light. Let's go that way.
Oh, I died.
I'm gonna get off here for a night. I'm just waiting on Joe to come back to say goodnight or whatever.
Where do you leave to?
Yeah, I think I think Kim needed something or something. He said he'd be right back.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That last game put me at gold.
Oh, sweet. Me too.
Alright.
What's the gold, boys?
Well, what's Kim bugging you for?
Oh no, she was actually, the second text was to tell me that not to worry about it, but I didn't even read that because I just thought she was like asking for the same thing
Like,
again.
stop texting me. Leave me alone. Timberlake. Leave me alone. I'm playing it.
Oh shit. Oh. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for me for tonight. I was just waiting till Joe got back to say goodnight to both of you.
Adios, Zeros. Thanks for the games,
guys.
buddy.
Make some progress today. Better than yesterday.
Yeah, we did pretty good. You guys are gold. I'm
Good,
silver
good,
too.
good.
So
keep ranking up our shit. We only got 96 days left.
Yeah,
chasing those masters.
Oh yeah. Alright,
Adios.
see you guys. Good night. Good games.
Well, have a good night, guys.
Adios.
Don't feel bad.
I hate these red dots. That's crazy. That's a real crazy. Alexa, stop. Alright, so I guess that's gonna be it for me. So I got some art stuff I gotta work on. Yeah, I'm in the party by myself. No one likes people in the party by themselves. Yeah, whatever, don't matter. Alright, so that's it for me, Brasky with the masky. Alright, so thank you for coming out. I appreciate it, whether it was Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, or YouTube, whether you were here for a minute, 5, 10, or an hour. You showed me that you care enough about me or what I'm doing to spend some of your time here, and I appreciate that. I really, really do. Also, the engagement that I get on the social media, I really appreciate that. Sorry, mostly Instagram. That's where I'm most active at, but on all of them. I appreciate the likes and the comments and the follows and all that other cool stuff. It is Mechanic on all socials except Twitter. It's Mechanic G, and Art.mechanic is another Instagram that I do drawings and illustrations, paintings and whatnot, art type stuff, obviously. That has been very inactive. But that's because I've been trying to learn digital programs and do that stuff, because I want to do a line of merch that's like video game, in-world video game stuff. So like, I shouldn't have this rant at the end, but whatever. Like the lab that Caustic lived at, or worked at, have like a Caustic and that lab name. The company that Mirage's family owns have like Mirage and that name. So it's kind of like a Nike ad with the legend that's appropriate for that thing. And also have like a Nike ad, but like a fake, like with a Sonic in front of it, or like whatever. That sort of thing. So I have a couple of ideas that I'm working on. So we'll see how it turns out. But anyway, so I'm gonna get to that. Not gonna do that on stream. I don't have it set up to do that on stream, so I'll figure that stuff out later. But I do appreciate it. Appreciate everybody stopping by. I love y'all. Be safe. Stay hydrated. Wash your hands. And I'll talk to y'all later. Those that didn't stop by,